because I grew up in a very loving and soft household. So it wasn't until I got out of I left home at 16. I chose to go do things on my own, and I was a runaway. I left home to go be with that narcissist, the very first one. And in my mind, leaving home, like I'm thinking everybody's going to be like my parents, very kind, very loving. No one can be that manipulative or deceitful. And he definitely taught me how evil the world can be. And I was very naive, and I was so young. And him being so almost 14 years older than me, I fell for a lot of things that I don't think I've never been exposed to. He was extremely charming and deceptive and manipulative. And just ultimately, I ended up catching feelings for him and making domino decisions that led me to being isolated with him so that I couldn't have the positive things in my ear, like leave this relationship, or he's too old for you. He knew that I was going to be faced with all that, so he did whatever he could to isolate me. And that became a domestic violence relationship in a sense of verbal abuse and manipulation, things like that. And he proposed to me after he found it love bombing, found out that I was about to leave, and I found him cheating. And at this time I had turned 18. So when I was at a point to where I feel like he seen that I was about to leave and giving up, he got on one knee and proposed to me and had the ring and everything. And when it came down to our literal wedding day, I ended up getting ghosted. I'm trying to text him, asking him like, hey, let me know when you're there. Let me know when you arrive. I'm asking him a bunch of questions. And I noticed after a while, after I'm finished with my glam, like he's not responding. So I call him. And then I notice every time I call him, my call gets screened. So he sees me calling, but he's just hanging it up. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's busy. So after a couple hours goes by, and I get a text message, and it's not from him, it's from the mother of his children. And she sends me a picture of him in their bed, and he's asleep. And she said, she captioned it or sent the text saying, I wouldn't want to marry a man like this. Why would you? Yeah, we had gotten to a physical altercation to the point to where I had to call security. And this day made me so mad because that was the day I realized it kind of hit me that there's going to be probably a lot more of these situations in the duration of us having a kid. The cops that came, or security guards that came up to the room, were very invalidating to what I was feeling because I was emotional or I just had a baby. So it was three men. And I feel like that's important to say because I feel like that's a very important factor in this. He had walked out of the room when I called security, and he was about to go to the elevator and leave. And the three security guards followed him to make sure that he had went the right direction and didn't cause any more drama. The security guards came back up to my room, and he came back up as well, the father. And he sat down and he just put his earphones in and laid down. And so the cop looked at me and he said to my face, he said, you should be very grateful that he showed up. Not a lot of dads do.
What's up, beautiful people? It's your favorite Light M Boogie. Welcome to another episode of the Confidence Way podcast, where we are shining light on the darkness that is domestic violence and abuse. If you've never been here before, welcome to the show. Understand this. We got 3 goals: to educate, empower, and encourage. We are here to educate anyone who has never been in abusive relationships, don't understand abusive relationships, why the people staying. Listen, you're going to find out today. We are here to empower any and every one of our survivors to stand up and share your story without shame, fear, guilt, or judgment. You are strong, you are powerful, and your voice deserves to be heard. And to anyone who is currently suffering in silence, listen, it don't have to be like this. We encourage you because you are not alone. You are not crazy. Abuse is not normal. Your feelings are valid. And despite how it may look and feel in this very moment, there is always a way out. And we encourage you to seek support. Now, come on and hop up in this thing because we about to rise above these insecurities, release the burdens of shame and guilt, and revive our God-given power, purpose, and passion the confidence way. So we about to light it up. It's another amazing episode of the Confidence Way podcast. And today we have this amazing, beautiful, magnificent, radiant spirit, but you can call her Z. Z, what's up, sis? How you doing?
I'm amazing. I'm so happy to be here. How are you?
It's a great day to be alive, as you know.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, We are privileged and honored that you are here sharing this moment in time with us and sharing your story, because there's a lot of people who are out there who have been through similar situations, as I'm finding out, and
Mhm.
who are currently going through situations that you're afraid to talk about or you didn't expect to happen. But I
Yeah.
feel like this is a place that's allowing us all to come together and say, yo, y'all ain't alone out here in these streets. It's
Yes.
bananas and it ain't your fault.
That's right.
So shoot, it is not your fault. It is
It
not
is.
you. Oh my
And
gosh.
that's the main thing I try to tell survivors. It's never your fault. It's the fault of the narc that you're dealing with.
Talk about that. So let's dive into that real quick.
Hmm.
How did you, because I found you on TikTok. Somebody sent you to me on TikTok,
Yes.
and I was like, oh, okay, we need to have this conversation.
Yeah.
What gave you the courage and the confidence to say, you know what, I'm gonna start sharing my story?
Because I think for me, when I first got into that relationship, I had felt so silenced for the whole 6 years. And I was always in my shell. I was always like walking on eggshells, and I always felt like I had to be quiet to keep the peace. But then I became a mother. And I'm like, if I can't speak up for myself, I can't speak up for her. So I'm speaking up now. And I'm speaking up for everyone else that's in a situation that's been silenced by courts and been scared to, say their part because of post-separation abuse. So somebody has to be that voice because I wasn't given that chance to be a voice or to hear someone else be that voice. So I'm really grateful for everyone who comes across my page first and feels courage through what I do.
Talk that talk. Now we're gonna get into that post. We're gonna get into that post
Yeah,
relationship comment in a minute. But first,
definitely.
is this the only relationship that you've been in that you would consider to have been abusive?
This is my second abusive relationship, but the thing is that I grew up with the notion that, or thinking that, domestic violence was only if someone puts their hands on you physically. But I actually learned through the second relationship that domestic violence is actually any relationship that leaves emotional scars as well. So even if they're just a covert narcissist, which is a calm narcissist that doesn't put their hands on you, just acts nonchalant, but extremely manipulative and deceitful, that's also domestic violence. And in retrospect, that means that my first relationship, even though he never put his hands on me, that was a domestic violence relationship as well. So this would be my second relationship, and not even just in domestic violence, but in total.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've only been in two committed
True.
relationships
Yep.
your entire life, and
Yeah.
both of them have been abusive.
Yes. One emotionally, and then one was just emotional. One was emotional and physically.
So the first one was the emotional one, right?
Yes.
Now, prior to that, because you said that you grew up thinking that domestic violence and abuse was only something physical, had you seen or been or encountered peripherally or anything like that abuse in either in the household or through your friends or family that you were aware of?
No, actually. And I feel like that played a big part, ironically, because I grew up in a very loving and soft household. So it wasn't until I got out of I left home at 16. I chose to go do things on my own, and I was a runaway. I left home to go be with that narcissist, the very first one. And in my mind, leaving home, like everything, I'm thinking everybody's gonna be like my parents, very kind, very loving. No one can be that manipulative or deceitful. And he definitely taught me how evil the world can be. And I was very naive, and I was so young. And him being so almost 14 years older than me, yeah, I fell for a lot of things that I don't think I've never been exposed to. And I think with him knowing that, he knew he had an advantage about that I was so sheltered growing up. So I played a big part in it as well, but I had never encountered domestic violence situations or relationships prior to that.
Now, we ain't just going to pass by what you just said.
And
We got hit it in reverse.
yes,
So, so you're 16.
yes,
How did y'all meet?
I had got my first job. My mother was very against me getting my, first job because she wanted to protect me. She wanted to take care of me, let me be in the house and relax. But I was so ambitious. I wanted to work. I wanted to get my own check. And I ended up getting a job at Kroger, which was, just it's a courtesy clerk. I was making 7.25 an hour, just have my little part-time job, and I ended up meeting a cashier who claimed to have liked me, and he was at the time 30. So almost a little bit over 30 actually. And I ended up liking him back. And needless to say, he was extremely charming and deceptive and manipulative. And just ultimately, I ended up catching feelings for him and making decisions, domino decisions that led me to being isolated with him so that I couldn't have the positive things in my ear, like leave this relationship, or he's too old for you. He knew that I was going to be faced with all that, so he did whatever he could to isolate me, and that became a domestic violence relationship in a sense of verbal abuse and manipulation, things like that. Even as
Now,
far as proposing to me and stood me up at the altar, literally. Yeah.
what? Wait,
Yes.
wait. You just throwing blows. Hold on.
Yeah.
I got
That's how that
questions.
relationship came to an end. He proposed to me after he found it love bombing, found out that I was about to leave and I found him cheating. And at this time I had turned 18. So when I was at a point to where I feel like he seen that I was about to leave and giving up, he got on one knee and proposed to me and had the ring and everything. And when it came down to our literal wedding day, I ended up getting ghosted. So, and I blessing in disguise. I totally have no complaints. I thank him to this day. Saved me a lot.
How? Okay, hold up. Cause we can't even, we can't get to that day yet.
Yeah.
You met him at 16. He's over 30.
Yeah.
So that's easy 14-year difference.
Yes.
And did your mom know about him before you ran off?
That's the reason why I ran off. My mom found out about him and she wanted to intervene so bad. She wanted to do everything she can to protect me from that situation, seeing what it was that I didn't see. And I was rebellious and I was trying to tell her, this is something real. I'm in love with him. This is my man. And so I ended up just leaving. And it's one of those things where now as a 26-year-old, I can't say I regret generally leaving. I regret leaving for the reasons I did. So I needed
Right.
to get out though to get and find my own way. I was so sheltered and sheltered off from the real reality of the world that I have learned so much on my own, and I'm grateful I did.
How's your relationship with your mom and your parents now?
Oh, that's my girl. That's my my best friend. Me and my mom are literally that's all I have, to be honest, aside from my daughter. She's my best friend. She's like everything that I'm so grateful to have her. And I'm glad that we were able to repair that relationship afterwards. And she understood. I think we've all had those moments as girls when you get to that point to where you finally find somebody that you think is the one and you just nobody can tell you different, nobody can tell you nothing. So she understood that. And, we both been there. So we're like, let's just, throw it past. You're good. As long as you're safe, you're here. I'm happy you're here. And we're good.
Girl, all I heard you say, you talking, and I'm hearing in my head Lil Nas X Thompson. Can't nobody tell me nothing. I'm like, that's because
Yes.
you are so right. Can't tell me
When you are in
nothing.
love, nobody can tell you nothing. No.
Baby, at 15, 16, at
Yes.
20,
Yes.
27, at 38, it doesn't matter
Yes.
if you're not grounded, if you don't know
Mhm.
who you are, if you
Yeah.
don't know what your purpose is in life and how much you have to offer,
Yeah.
can't nobody tell you nothing when somebody come throw them little chitter
That's right.
charms down there. Dang. Okay. So 16, you leave home. You like, mom, you don't understand. He
Yeah.
loves me. I love him. We're gonna live
Yes.
happy ever after. And she like, no, sis, don't do it.
That's right.
Reconsider. Reconsider.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So then y'all are in the relationship for 2 years.
Mhm.
When would you say that you first started noticing the manipulation and the control?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't realize it till after the relationship was way over. After I lost feelings. That's when because I didn't mentally check out at all. I was gonna get married to this man. I was really about to, I was ready, had my makeup and hair done. I was ready to go. And I was 10, I didn't have no what's cold feet is what they say. I was ready to go. He apparently had cold feet. So it didn't take for me until to get out the relationship and lost my feelings for me to look back and say that was a lot of manipulation. So it took a minute. So I would say 2 years after the relationship was way over. And this was at this point, I'm in Washington already. Moved out to from Las Vegas. I'm from Las Vegas. And this happened out there. So it took me for me to heal and get through that, for me to say, this is that was a bad situation. I'm thankful for, God intervening in that.
Amen. And I just want to take some time really quick for anybody. I don't know what your relationship status is, where you are,
Mhm.
but we have to have grace with ourselves. And a lot of
Yes.
times, just like you just said, Z, we don't. we can even know some things are bad in certain relationships, like even if it's something physical or you just really hear the verbal abuse, you can know it's bad, but it takes you getting out and starting your healing journey a lot of times
Yes,
to realize how bad it really was.
that's right.
Because you like, oh no, it can't. Like, I don't know, I think it's because we have that manipulation and that control that we have succumbed to, but on the
Yeah,
inside you're still kind of trying to fight, like some part of you doesn't want to let yourself go. And
yeah,
so I think that part that doesn't want to let ourselves go tries to convince us that it's not that bad, so we have control over something,
right,
as
right.
opposed to just saying, yo girl, it is that bad. You like, no, it's not that bad, we can.
And a
So
lot of it has a lot to do with the love bombing, the things that they say. And especially it's so circumstantial for a lot of women. Some women, from what I've been taught, is that they feel like they're at a certain age, they don't feel like they'll find anybody else. They want to have another kid, they're feeling older, they won't be able to, make a kid in time and meet someone. And they stay because they think, oh, I can just change him. If I just show him more love, I can change him. I can change this and things will get better after a while. So they keep pouring and pouring and pouring, thinking that they'll reciprocate, when in reality they end up resenting you and treating you worse. So, and that's just one of the reasons why a lot of people stay in their situations.
right. So let's talk about real quick, because the charming factor, the
Hmm.
love bombing. Some people have heard the term love bombing, or maybe they haven't, and they don't really know what it is. So in your specific situation, y'all met, he's a cashier, you there doing your thing. What was the things that he did or said that felt like had you feeling like, oh my gosh, this guy is really, really nice. Like
Yeah,
myself with him. What was it that he
yeah.
was doing that had you hook, line, and sinker?
He put me on cloud nine like immediately. It was fast. It wasn't no time for words. Just it was flowers every single day. And the thing is that this can be the perception can be taken a couple ways. How fast they're wanting to do things can be considered love bombing. He wanted to get into a relationship almost immediately. And okay, I'm thinking this man knows what he knows what he wants. This is how I'm perceiving it. He knows what he's after, so I don't got to be confused. He made sure there was no room for confusion and that I didn't feel that way. But I also consider love bombing to be, how I'm trying to see how I would describe it in like an easier way. Um, he just made sure he studied me. And he did every single thing in the beginning of the relationship when I told him what I wanted, that I said I wanted. I want this, I want that, I want flowers every week. And he made sure that I received those things so that when it came down to a point to where he would stop slowly but surely doing those things, I didn't feel like the relationship was coming to an end. I'm trying to find the best way to describe this. It's hard to
No,
describe
you're
love
doing
bombing.
perfect. You're giving a visualization of what's happening, and you're doing perfect because it is that, and it's different from everybody, but it's that
Yeah.
speed and quickness, and it's
Yes.
you. The thing you said is like, I know what I want. This is what I want, and I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. When I met Homeboy on my end,
Hmm.
I had already started making a list of things that I thought I wanted in a person.
Yes.
And I really didn't want to share it with him because I was like, well, I don't want this dude to take
Yeah.
what I say and use it and just to,
Yes.
I had that thought in my head.
Yes.
Hold up real quick. Y'all, listen. If you thinking anything like that, I ain't gonna say you right, but it's a strong possibility.
Follow your gut. Your gut's gonna tell you. And
Follow your intuition.
yes. And that's one of the
Girl,
things that I told myself. Actually, I made a video about this. I'm not telling the next person that I get with anything that I want in a partner. The only thing, if they ask me, what do I want a person of God. Everything else will fall right in line. They can't pretend to be nobody. They can't pretend to be something that they're not for like a few weeks. And yeah, there's no room. They're not giving them the blueprint. Because you give them the blueprint, they know exactly what to do, how to act to get you. And then they know now this is your highs and this is your low. And they're going to pretend. They will. It's a blueprint for them. So just say, generally, if you are, I don't know your faith, if you're a Christian, just say you want a person of God.
right. And make sure you saying a person of God who submits to God, because there's a whole lot of
Yes.
people of God out here that won't submit to what God said.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. And
Yeah.
it doesn't work. It's, you know, the Bible, you know
Yeah.
all these scriptures, you know what it says, you know how to act, but you don't follow. Like, you will not submit to
Right.
certain parts of the Bible. It's all about, the wife's submission, but they tend to forget what
Yeah.
the husband's supposed to submit to.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you pointed that out. So homeboy took the blueprint. He was like, run the play. I'm running the play.
Yeah.
how long did it take then once you saw he came out the gates hot, he was ready? How long did it take till you started noticing the slow withdrawal from giving you the attention and the affection that you desired to I got you now?
After I moved in with them. When I moved, yeah, when I had left home, I moved in with him. That's where I left from home to him. And as soon as that started, I'm gonna say a week after that started to happen, I started to get the isolation. I would consider this to be love bombing as well. When he starts to tell you, "Oh, you can quit your job and I'll take care of you fully financially." That is when it started. That's when he started to have the mindset of I need to get her under my control as much as I can. And so it started off as financially. He had three other children with another woman. I ended up becoming a stepmom, like against my will. I ended up becoming a
And
stepmom.
you 16 still at this time, right? You're
Huh?
still 15?
At this time, I'm like 17 at this point. Yeah.
Okay, you 17. How old were his kids?
His kids were, I'm gonna say one was 5, one was 11, and one was 7.
Girl.
Yeah.
Okay, before we even get, we just not going to pass by this.
Yeah.
So you're 17 trying to be a stepmom to an 11-year-old,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
two younger siblings. Like, how is that dynamic in that relationship with you still being a baby yourself? I mean, because in
Yeah.
all honesty, we still don't know things at 28, 5, 30. It's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff we haven't learned yet when we
Yeah.
think we are grown. So you're still a legit baby. Like when
Yeah.
we are teenagers, we still babies.
Yeah. That's
How
true.
in the heck was those relationships?
You know what? Something that I always get told, and this is something I probably get told at least once a week when I meet new people. The people think I'm older than what I am because of my I have an old soul apparently, quote unquote. And with that being said, when I was 17, I had an extremely mature mindset. And it's the way that I am. I am very independent, I'm self-sufficient, and I always make sure that I do things for myself on my own, and I have the mindset. I was raised by grandparents. I had two parent households on both ends. So being raised by your grandparents who are older and then a traditional family, you're going to learn like a lot of old school ways. And with that, I was able to apply that to the relationships with the kids. And that's something he always told me, like, you are 17, but you seem like if I was to first meet you, I would think that you're almost 30. And that mindset, I think, is what helped me gain a respectful relationship with the kids. But in retrospect, they looked at me as like I tried my best to be a sibling more than I did try to be a parent. I didn't have nothing, I didn't know anything about being a parent. And I think that's the only reason why we probably got along as much as we did, because I wanted to so hard, like try so hard to be close to them so that I can make him happy. And he just allowed whatever, when I'd be home with the kids, and mind you, I quit my job so he can fully financially like take care of me. And he was paying all the bills. He actually stood 10 toes on doing that. But he'd leave me with the kids and be out doing his dirt. So that was how the relationship went, especially with the older one, the daughter. His oldest one's a daughter.
And
So
I don't know why I felt that, but I really did feel that. Y'all, let
yeah,
me say something. Anybody that come in who don't know you from Jane Doe talking about, oh, you don't gotta work no more. Like, I'm gonna take care of you. Just get away.
yeah,
Just get
yeah.
away.
Get away.
Because you have too much value and too much worth to give this world, whether you are aware of it or not, whether you've tapped into why you're here or not. Just know that you were born valuable. That ain't
Yes.
never going to change. An apple seed's value does not diminish just because it's not planted. Whether it's planted or
Right.
not, the value is still there because we know the potential that if it is planted in the right circumstances, is going to multiply fruit. That's the same with you.
That's
You are
amazing.
valuable.
You are.
Don't let anybody tell you that you don't have to work, stop working. No, you focus on you. And if y'all's relationship can navigate through that, then
Yeah,
maybe if that's what you wanted to do. But for the most part, being a stay-at-home anything isn't what most of us want to do.
that's true.
Most of the people who end up finding themselves in a relationship that's abusive are really beautiful spirited people. I haven't
Hmm.
anyone who's just evil spirited who's been in an abusive relationship. Like your light it brings so much to other people and they see that. But then they
Yeah.
also see like your empathy and they see something in us that's like, I can get that one. And
Yeah.
they attack on that. Like they play that in their favor. Don't let anyone tell you you don't got to work, boo. You know you ain't got to work. It's
Yes.
a lot of people out there being homeless, choosing to be homeless. You
Yeah.
don't have to work, but you don't got to take that from nobody. I'm just saying, I had to put that out there because
Yeah, and you're so right because that's a A lot of people who message me tell me, and they're stay-at-home wives, and they'll say, that wasn't a sacrifice I wanted to make, but I did it out of love or to try to keep my family together. And they say they lost so much of themselves. They didn't work anymore, so they lost a big part of who they were because they stopped socializing. They didn't have any more friends. They didn't get to be around other people. And a lot of people they'll do that, they'll accept that position. Oh, I became a stay-at-home wife for him, and so I could raise our kids. But it's not something they do again if given a choice again.
cause let me tell you, as
Hmm.
beautiful and wonderful as your kids might be, them being the only form of communication for real all day, hey,
Man.
yo, you talk about mental exhaustion,
Oh my gosh.
girl. Okay, so
Oh,
you 17, you a 17-year-old stepmom
yeah.
who's not married.
Right.
He's like, yo, okay, I want to settle down. I see all of these wonderful things. You treated my kids. My kids love you. You taking care
Yeah.
of the house just like I would love. Let's get married. Baby, let's get married. I heard that jagged edge.
Yes.
Let's get married.
I'm
Meet me at the altar in your
in your
white.
white dress.
I ain't going nowhere. Okay, so you get there, you get proposed to. Are
Yes.
y'all meeting at a courthouse or did y'all actually have a legit ceremony kind of scheduled up and other people were supposed to be there?
We mailed out invitations to family across the country. Like we mailed out invitations to people who had to fly in to be present for this wedding day. We weren't gonna just do we went and did got the marriage license together at the courthouse, and then I hired a wedding planner and everything. And I was ready I wanted the big wedding. That was my dream. I wanted the dress, the poofy dress, all of it, decorations, all my family to be there. I even sent one to my parents. I even sent invitations to family in Indiana, and people had purchased tickets at this point. People or had already flown out. So I had to tell a lot of people on the day of the wedding, it's canceled. I'm sorry. I don't know where he's at. I don't know what happened. I don't know where this man's at. My makeup is already done. I'm literally ready to go get married. And so we had to tell a lot of people. Well, I had to tell a lot of people. I don't know where he's at. I'm sorry. The wedding's canceled. So it was a huge blow to my heart. Yeah.
That's a lot of emotion to
Yeah.
have. One, to have to accept what just happened, then to have to be the one to go out and telling everybody, hey, I'm
Yeah.
sorry you wasted your money and your time to come here. How did you find out? Like, were you trying to communicate with him? Were things good the night before? How did you find out that he wasn't even there at the venue?
So I ended up texting him. I'm at the house at the time, and I'm doing my makeup, getting everything ready at the house. And he's supposed to be out. I guess he's at the time he's supposed to be doing something with the kids, getting them situated. And I'm trying to text him, asking him like, "Hey, let me know when you're there. Let me know when you arrive." I'm asking him a bunch of questions, and I noticed after a while, after I'm finished with my glam, like he's not responding. So I call him, and then I notice every time I call him, my call gets screened. So he sees me calling, but he's just hanging it up. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's busy. So after a couple hours goes by, and I get a text message, and it's not from him, it's from the mother of his children. And she sends me a picture of him in their bed, and he's asleep. And she said, and she captioned it or sent the text saying, "I wouldn't want to marry a man like this. Why would you?" And as that was the last time I heard from either of them, like literally. Packed everything up, and I'm bawling. Like my makeup is I'm bawling. I'm on the couch. I'm trying my best to pack up things fast. And that was the moment I realized, like, I got to get up out of here. I got to leave. Because that wasn't the first time I had caught, them doing stuff. But of course, on her end, that was very intentional to hurt me. And I'm glad she did. So if you watch this, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sis, with your raggedy trifling behind.
Yeah.
Oh my, wait a second. So the mother of his
Yeah.
children, they never got married.
No.
He just been bouncing back and forth.
Yes.
Tragic.
Yeah, his
Ooh,
feelings, and
that's
now
tragic.
that in retrospect, his feelings actually was always with her. I was the one used to make her jealous. Yeah, and it took me for me to be out the situation completely to realize what that was, because every single thing that we would do, he'd always want to post it on social media, and of course, every girl's always like, post me, show me off, and things like that. But his reasons was so she can see it, And he would always say things like, I want her to see that I'm happier without her. And I'm like, why? Like, as I got older, I'm like, why did you want that? Like, it's just so childish.
Right. Or why we even still talking? We here now. Why we still talking?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was to make her jealous, the entirety of that relationship.
That's bananas.
Yeah.
Dang. And I just don't understand why people got to be so ragged. Oh, I know why. Because people go through trauma and
Yeah.
they don't, whatever happened in their past, they don't do the work to heal from it. And as
That's
a result,
right.
they either intentionally or unintentionally damage other people or cause
Yeah.
damage to other people. So I understand, but you don't even have to be raggedy like that,
Yeah.
homeboy
And I
and
just made a
homegirl.
video too. I made a video like a week ago, I want to say. He had messaged me a week ago. And I hadn't heard from this man in years. He messaged me asking, yeah, he asked me for money. Asking me from when I tell you I have never laughed so hard. Like I and I was very surprised and caught off guard, but he sent me a message saying like I'm very sorry for what I did to you. Like you were the only woman that I've ever met that had my back. And I'm reading this with a smile on my face. Like the old me would have fell for this. But I am so thankful that I'm over y'all. Like I can't do this. I'm not doing it.
Clarity,
Yeah.
clarity. I tell you, when
Yeah.
you're anybody, listen, please, 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 if you've ever been in any form of an abusive relationship, financial, emotional, psychological, it doesn't have to be physical. If
Hmm.
you are considering getting out or you are out, you have to cut yourself off from that person.
Yeah.
Because the reason you got caught up in that situation in the first place is because it's the mind game, the manipulation.
Hmm.
And if you let them keep that foot in that door, it's never going to change and you're going to slip back up. And that's why people oftentimes get out and then they go back in because we don't cut them off. You have to cut them off. If
Yeah.
you got kids, that's a whole nother story. You got to
Yes.
have figured that out. But if you
Yeah.
do not have children, we encourage you just cold
To
turkey.
make an
You got to let
exit plan. Yeah, because one thing I never tell domestic violence survivors is to just leave because I realized through this last relationship how hard that can be. But if you can at least start today by making your exit plan, which you can even if you are on my TikTok and you can find that exit plan link in my bio on TikTok where you can go on there. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions and where you just have an fill it out. It has contact information, emergency contacts, shelters in your area. You can just fill it out and print it or save it to your phone, and then it's just that plan is set in place in the case that you have a chance to just escape your relationship. Because I know it's not easy to just say, "Hey, get out," like or just leave. So and if you can just take the one small step today, it's going to lead to bigger steps.
facts. It is not easy.
Yeah.
Real quick, just say your TikTok information so that I can have it pop up on the bottom of the screen and whoever's watching
Hmm.
can have the opportunity to get this
You
form.
you can find me on TikTok through my first name actually, Zwayeerah.
Okay. So we're
And
gonna
the
pin the thing
yeah.
and get it going. Y'all, please, if you get out, when you get out,
Hmm.
cut off communication.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
for your own sanity. It's for your own health. It's the step towards choosing you, which then
Hmm.
allows you to step into the future that you're supposed to be in. So you with this trifling homeboy for 2 years, he
Yes.
proposes to you to make all her jealous. Then
Hmm.
the day of, he doesn't show up. But the night
Yeah.
before, were y'all together the night before?
We were just fine. Everything was perfectly
Y'all were
fine.
together the night before the wedding.
Yes. We were everything was perfectly fine. Like I would have never thought I didn't that day, even looking back at it today, there was nothing that happened that night before that would have prompted me that he's not going to show up.
That's a special kind of bananas. That's a
But you know what? The
thing.
plan for him to leave with the kids that day of the wedding was already in place, which means that he potentially had already planned this. Even while we were together, like he had planned to not show up. He planned to go do stuff with her on the night of our wedding. So that it's like to think that people can be that deceitful, it changes a lot of you. Yeah.
It can and it does.
Yeah.
And that's why healing and therapy and all of those things are so important
Yeah.
because they only win once you leave if they've changed you to a point where you're no longer your true self. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want y'all to let that happen. So therapy, get that thing, sis, because
Yes.
or
No,
bro,
yes.
because there's some men out here there who have been done wrong. Y'all get your therapy, and in therapy, be completely open, transparent. It's a safe space, but you got to be honest in order to get help.
That's right. That's true.
All right, so homeboy stood you up. How long was it? You're 18 at this point. Girl,
Yeah.
that's a lot going on before you got doggone 18. You can't even vote and you
Drink.
got all this
Can't
foolishness going on.
even
Shit.
drink yet. I just was able to buy a pack of cigarettes if I wanted to, and I'm going through all this. It was a lot. It was a lot at a young age.
Wow. Okay. So but real quick before we move on,
Hmm.
how was he controlling and manipulative though? Okay, so he told you don't have to work, stay at
Yeah.
home. What was his tactic to cut you off from, did you have friends prior to him, or was it you
Yes.
popped out of that? So what was that? How did that look?
So he would always try to cause conflict between me and the people that I loved so that I would push them away. And then that would give him so much more control over how I perceived reality, or the reality that he wanted me to, create. So he would always say things about the people that I, brought around, like my best friends. They would, oh, she or him said this about you. And then he would try to cause conflict and make me believe that these people were not on my side as much as he was. And then he even did that with me and my mother. And that was one of the people that he tried so hard to get in between, because my mom was trying her best to tell me this is not what you think it is. And so he would just say things like, "Oh, your mother's trying to control you, or she's trying to take over your life." And he would say things like, "Oh, you need to remember, like, you're a grown woman now. You can take care of yourself." And he would just fill my head up thinking, okay, I don't need my mom. And that's ultimately what I ended up believing for a while. It was like, okay, I don't need her. Like, she's against me. This is not my friend. This is not my mother. She's not doing things that a mother would do. And that's what I ended up, what caused me and my mom to have a fallout for a little while, because that duration of that relationship, I was just head over heels with this man. And I'm thinking he is guiding me in the right direction. I'm just going to listen and focus on him. So isolation was the biggest thing with him. I had nobody but him at one point, and I had no one to listen to or lean on but him. So with me being financially dependent on him 100%, and him being my only friend, I fell. I fell pretty hard. I wasn't even able to get a job because his work schedule was very demanding. So I had to be the one ultimately to watch the kids. Their mom, of course, would set it up to where I had no contact with her. Only he did. So he's telling me, oh, she has to work long and tiring hours too. Only you're available to watch the kids. You stay at home. You don't do anything, quote unquote. So you can watch the kids. So I'm stuck with 3 kids, and I have no money. I can't get out if I wanted to. I have to watch them. So it was a lot of isolation. I felt trapped no matter what I did.
Oh yeah. Did y'all have more than one car, or did you even have a driver's license at this time?
I didn't have a driver's license, and neither of us had a car. He would catch the bus to work. Yeah. And he's to this day don't got a car. It's crazy.
Oh my God. Gosh. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay, I couldn't pass that up because I want to make sure that we give the appropriate amount of attention to this
Yeah.
relationship, because it wasn't physically abusive.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
wanted to make sure people hear exactly what manipulation and control and isolation looks like when someone's not putting their hands on you. You're
Yes.
forced to do things almost in a passive aggressive way.
Yeah. And I want to add that another thing that he would constantly do is he would try to destroy my self-esteem so that I didn't feel confident enough to leave him. So he made sure that I felt like he was the only one that was ever going to love me because I am this size, or I look like this, or, just physical attributes about myself that he would always point out to say, oh, like, no one's ever going to love you like I love you. Who else is going to let you stay home all day and not do anything? And, while I work and make you bring home all the money. So that did get to me after a while. That's also another form of isolation, but they do try to destroy your self-esteem, to break down your confidence a little bit at a time, even if it's through that or disrespectful jokes, quote unquote. Um, it does, yeah, that does start to become an effect on how whether or not you stay, or whether or not you go, or whether or not you feel confident enough to even go.
Yeah, because that confidence is a beast. And even though your self esteem and your confidence is your responsibility,
Yeah,
you have to understand, whoever, I don't know what your life is right now, but you have to understand that when you're constantly subjected to someone, and the only one who has conversation with you outside of your own thoughts,
yes,
you can't help but to begin to question yourself and
yeah,
believe that person,
yeah,
because the weight of their words becomes heavier than the internal thoughts and voices that you had or were trying to hold on to about yourself. And heck, you 16, 17, 18 at the time. So
Yeah.
you don't even, everybody is massively insecure at that age. Not everybody, that's
Yeah.
so many people are massively insecure at that age
Yeah,
already.
that's
And
right.
for that to be played on, it's people out here 55 years old still insecure, if we want to
Yeah.
be real, because they don't know who they are. But that had to have been so tough for you. So were you in school at the time too? Like, what happened?
Yeah. I ended up going back and I ended up finishing school. I got my diploma. And I paid for my using some the money that I had for left from my job. I paid off my cap and gown because we had to pay for it at the time. So it was only $500 and I used my checks from the job to pay off that. But I ended up graduating with my class. Thankfully, because of my choices and electives and classes, I was ahead of a lot of kids. I ended up graduating with a 4.0 GPA. So I got my diploma pretty early. That was something the plus for me because had I been with my class or where I was, most people in my class were, I would have never finished because I would have needed so many more credits to graduate.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm glad I knocked out a lot of the credits while I had a chance.
Y'all, it's for real people out here that are preying on
Yeah,
younger people. Like, it is
yeah,
real out here in these streets. They're preying on the younger people. And I'm not going to say weaker. It's not that you're weak, it's just that you don't understand your value.
yeah.
And so when someone sees that you don't understand their value, they know that they can test it. And when they test it, they can see how
Mhm.
far they can push it to the limit.
And you know what? There's a video I had made on my TikTok, and that was actually a perfect example of what you said. The video was, here are 5 things that I'll never do again in a relationship, and there are some strong opinions in there. And the video actually went viral, and one gentleman had commented under it and said, "This is why we date. This is why most men prefer to only date fresh women." He said fresh. And literally, when I say the women in my comment, I didn't even say nothing because I just knew the women in my comments was gonna come for him. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna let them take over this conversation. But he literally ran into my point and then just missed the point. And so that's that. What you said literally just shines light on that. Men prefer to date women that are quote unquote not broken or fresh, so they can break them themselves.
I just gotta control yourself, just gotta hold it in, because it's just so unnecessary.
Yeah, yeah.
Life is life has enough issues of itself for this kind of thing to be happening.
You have no idea, man.
Especially when we're created to be in community with other people, and we are created to actually have a life partner.
Hmm.
It don't make no sense for all this unnecessary buffoonery.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Y'all, okay. Okay. I had to hold on to that one because somebody out there is in a relationship. They're not being physically abused, but they
Yeah.
don't know that they're being emotionally or psychologically
Verbally.
abused.
Yeah.
All of
Hmm.
that. They don't know. So now you know. Click on the link, get yourself a game plan,
Yep.
and hit the deuces. Because it's
That's
not,
right.
like you said, that was such a blessing. 'Cause I would not even want to be having this
Mhm.
conversation with you if he would have actually proposed, like shown up, y'all been married. The
Yeah.
amount of more trauma that you would have been
Oh
in.
my goodness. I think about it all the time. That could have went so left.
Child.
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm so angry at him. No, I'm not. I ain't got time to be wasting my energy on people, but you are
That's right.
foolishness.
I'm grateful. I'm
If
grateful.
I go look up foolishness in the dictionary, your
Your
face is
name
gonna
is
be
right
next
up there,
to it.
right? Yeah, I agree with you.
Either way. Oh my gosh. All right. So you're 18.
Hmm.
He, he you ain't dodge a bullet, but the gun locked up and you ain't have
Yep.
to worry about it.
Yep.
How long before you hop or get into your next relationship?
Oh man. Okay. So
Talk about it now.
yeah, this is the relationship that did a number, man. But I ended up moving to Washington in 2019, right before COVID started. So at this point, it's been about 2 years. I want to say 2 or 3 years, going on three, before I met the father of my child. Yeah.
How did y'all meet and what was he like?
So we met through a mutual well, I met through one of his family members, and that I will keep, low. But I met through one of his family members, and just to put it out there, I'm gonna lower my voice a little bit because that particular family member is my next door neighbor.
Stop
So yeah,
lying.
yeah, we'll get into
Wait,
that
wait, no, hold on. 'Cause I just want to take a breath. Hold on, hold on, hold on. This is for all of the family members and friends out there.
Yeah,
If you know somebody ain't worth two pennies rubbed together with a pocket with a hole in it, please don't put them on nobody else.
thank you, thank you,
Please.
thank you.
If you want to spend energy on them, spend energy trying to get them to get help.
Yes, please do that. Get them together first, or just keep your mouth shut. We don't.
But you, before we even go off into that, I need to ask some age questions. Okay, so
Yeah, yeah,
you're 18, 20. You're about 20, 21 at this time,
yeah.
right?
20. Yeah.
How old is he?
So when I first met him, he was 28.
So
Yeah,
is
20.
it safe to say that you were not his first relationship?
Oh, definitely safe to say.
Hey, neighbor, get yourself together. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Oh my, that just
Def-
it really disturbs my spirit, honestly. And
yeah,
I'm silly because I love that we can be silly together,
yeah,
simply because once you're out of a situation and you understand who you are and you appreciate yourself for who you are, it's the best thing ever. So
yeah,
anyone who's in there right now, listen, it's so much better on the other side. Just
yeah,
it's so much better. So it just disturbs my spirit when there are friends and family members of these homeboys and homegirls
yeah.
who, even if you haven't seen it with your own eyes, you
Hmm.
have strong suspicion that
Yeah,
something ain't right with the way that they're mistreating, and mishandling other people.
yeah,
However, what? Why y'all don't do it? Just be like,
yeah.
nah, just be that person. Hey, I'm gonna tell you off to the side. He ain't what you want, but it's still
Yes,
your decision.
yes,
Like,
yeah.
just do that.
Because I'm telling you right now, like, if I will look at that person differently. I don't care what type of relationship we had prior. If you hooked me up with somebody and you knew the whole time what kind of person they were and you knew I was a good person, I'm gonna look at you sideways because I'm like, why'd you do that to me? Like,
Why? I was minding my own God given business.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. And then this a neighbor.
yeah, man. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot to this day. It's a lot.
Okay. All right. So y'all 20. You're
Yeah,
20. He's
yeah.
28.
Oh yeah,
And another older dude. And I'm not gonna say that there's anything wrong with dating older people,
yeah.
but if you do that, it's strongly encouraged that you know who you are
Or
first,
dealing with, yeah, or yeah, know who you are.
and then figure out who you're dealing with. Because the signs are always there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't care if that flag is pink, magenta,
Yeah,
orange, yellow, red, orange, sunset. If it ain't white or green,
yeah,
that's all you need to know.
yeah,
So you're 20, he's 28, you're in Washington.
yeah,
How did y'all meet? Okay, you met through the friend,
yeah.
but how did that happen?
So, he had just got released from prison, and yeah, I know, and it's like
Hey,
telling
this
this.
is no judgment. No, 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 no. This is no judgment right here. Trust and believe. You know what I'm saying? It's no judgment. But before you go on, because from my own experience, before you go on, let me say this real quick.
Yeah,
Anyone who needs this word right now.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, everyone deserves a second chance. No, you don't have to be the person to give it to them. That's all I wanted to say. Carry on.
Man, man, that's she didn't lie. So please listen to that. But he had just got out of prison, and of course, when I met him through the mutual friend who I deeply trusted. Actually, I trusted that person's opinion, that person's judgment, and I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna give this person a chance because you're telling me that this is a person that with my best interest. Now, Me moving to Washington, I should set this up and say that I was feeling very lonely and I was by myself. I moved out here by myself. Nobody, never been to the state before a day in my life.
How did
So
you get to Washington?
that's a whole other story in itself.
All right, let me get. I'm sorry, I was about to take a
Oh,
detour.
you're good.
Let's
You're
get back
good.
on the road.
But no, that's yeah. We'll get into that later. But um, yeah, I met him through the mutual friend, and I was lonely. I was by myself. I felt like I only was able to turn to God. So the day before I met him, actually, I had prayed to God, and this is what kind of led me to fall into this relationship further. But I prayed, and I was like, I really want to meet someone that I can just share my kidney with. Like we just side by side, we close, someone that I can call my partner. It doesn't even have to be a relationship, but I want a best friend out here. The next day, I meet this man. So I'm thinking, okay, God, like, thank you. Let's see what it's going for. Let's see what it is. And I'm thinking this is the person that God brought into my life. And now that I think about it, sometimes and because of that situation, I learned that the devil can also show up as everything you've ever wanted.
Baby, because I was like, let me hold my tongue real quick. But the
Yeah.
thing I needed to say was the devil hears prayers too.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
That's all I wanted to say. That's all I wanted to say.
That's right. And so we ended up becoming, it was so fast, love bombing. We became so close. We did everything together. We went out to eat like all the time. Which something we both foodies. We love to go out to eat. We both we did late night drives, R&B music, the whole nine, and we became inseparable. And at the time that I had met him, I had a really strong village through the job that I was with. I was a CNA, and I was in the process of becoming a nail technician. I was at beauty college, and he knew that I had a very tight village around me of people who were 10 toes about protecting me out in Washington. And these were all coworkers though. And I didn't have any like actual female friends or women friends or anybody like that. So I ended up burning a bridge to skip all the long story in between. That relationship caused me to lose everybody, the job, including the job, the relationships. I ended up having to stop going to school because of it's like I want to take accountability and say because of the choices I was making of calling out of school, but it was just this person was a distraction. They were not helping me. They became a blatant distraction to my goals and to my life. And in retrospect, it's because they didn't want me to get ahead further than them. Because they weren't working at the time; they had just been released. So
Wait a minute, because I promise y'all, I be trying to hold my
yeah,
peace so I can
it's
let y'all
okay.
talk.
It's okay.
But I'm like, wait, I gotta let her get it out.
Yeah,
That was right on line with what I was thinking.
yeah,
My question.
hmm
So he get out, you meet him,
yeah,
y'all spending all this time and money together, and I'm
yeah.
like, now, homeboy, who paying for all these meals and all these dates?
He was. He actually, and that's another thing. Like I was the one who was, used to. Wasn't used to that. So him being, mind you, I've only been in two relationships. The first one, I was financially codependent. So I'm thinking this is such a large upgrade from what I'm used to. He's paying for everything, but he ended up resenting paying for everything, resenting me for paying for everything because after a while he would always ask me, and to this day nobody can ask me this question. What do you bring to the table? He would always ask me that, and I would feel in a place where I wasn't worth because it's hard to explain because the way that his covert narcissism was is that it was subtle comments and subtle jokes that would make me overthink. And with me being an overthinker and him knowing that, he would just use that to his advantage. So he would say comments that he knew would just lead me down a trail of thought. Like what does he think about me? Or like is he saying or implying that I'm not worth this or I'm not doing enough or stuff like that. So that it took over a 6 year period for that to affect my self-esteem, of just going constant comments like that. But he started paying for everything. I had no idea where he was getting the money and I really didn't care. I wasn't paying for it. So
Now, Z, homeboy just got out of jail.
yeah,
He ain't got no job. Does he
yeah,
have a car?
he did.
He got a car. And you
Yeah.
ain't asking no questions about where this money come from. And you know he ain't got no job.
You know what? I was just happy to be there. I was just happy to be there. And I'm being
This
real.
ain't no
I'm being
judgment,
so
y'all.
real. Yeah.
I have to dig into these questions because people
Mm.
are literally going through this right now.
Yeah.
And we're not asking questions. I'm guilty of it. there were so many questions that I thought about asking, should have asked, didn't ask, that would have
Yes.
helped me
Yes.
avoid a lot of situations.
Yeah.
And I do this now because I want people, number one, to see what they're missing and what they could be doing differently, and number two,
Yeah.
see that you ain't the only person who's been there.
Yeah.
It's easy
That's
for
right.
us now to be like, you know what, sis, because we're on the outside and we can look back and we can reflect on what we've been through.
Yeah.
There's somebody right here that would have heard that conversation and it wouldn't have hit them hard enough to be like, I need to be asking more questions.
True.
When you're in a relationship and you're getting to know somebody who you don't know from John Adam down the street, you got to ask questions. And if they get offended by asking questions, that ain't the person for you.
Yeah, and you know what? That was actually the situation that I was in. I would feel fearful to ask questions because he would be so calm and collected and he'd do everything, but then if I asked certain questions that he was uncomfortable with, it was always immediate defense. Oh, you're not being grateful. Oh, why does it matter? Like you don't have to pay for it. You get to eat, right? Like it's just it was the fear of asking questions that would make me feel like, okay, let me just stop because then I don't want to be the cause or quote unquote the way he'd make me feel, the cause of the relationship ending because I wasn't grateful. So I would
Mm-hmm.
just keep my mouth shut and accept the help that I was getting because he wasn't just paying for dates. He was helping me with everything in my life. Like whenever I needed to move, I was roommating for the first couple of years out here. He'd be the first one I could call. Like he was the person that I knew I could call for situations like that. Um, so now I know that he was just trying to build credibility with me so that when he did dirt, then I was like he was easily forgivable.
He was
So
real patient.
he was extremely, and that this is the relationship that shaped everything like for who I am today. It makes me point out the red flags a lot easier. But the way that his narcissism worked was extremely different than the first type of narcissism I've dealt with. And that's what made it harder to point out and compare to the first one. Because the first one was, retrospect was blatant. It was just that was just narcissism, covert. You didn't put your hands on me, but you're very manipulative. This one, he was very meticulous and calculated with everything he did over a span of 6 years.
He was real patient. And
Yeah.
that's a different kind of bananas for real.
Yes. Yes.
Because a lot of people who are abusive, they're not invested. They don't want to spend the energy holding up the facade that long.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
that's why, and this isn't scientifically backed, it's just from conversations. That's why I believe that the love bombing happens, because they can only give so much of that for such a specific amount of time. That's like, let
Yeah.
me go ahead and pour this out real quick, real quick, real quick,
Yeah.
so I can go ahead and get them in here, and then whew, now I can take off. Now I can take off this
Yeah.
Dr. Jekyll and put on my Hyde,
Yeah.
because that's a lot of energy, Z, for
And
someone
another thing that a narcissist, when they see how much you will tolerate, they'll push it a little further. So how
every time.
the speed at which they'll reveal them true selves will depend on how much you've already tolerated, and if they think that you'll tolerate another big step forward. So if they see that your tolerance was really low, like he did, he knew that because of my previous relationship, I had my guards up a little bit. So I think he was aware of that. So he was a little bit more patient with me to be able to show his true colors. And then when I got to a point of comfort in which he was able to see that, then he's like, okay, let me start unraveling some more myself and see if she'll tolerate this. But I was already, by that time, I was so deep in thinking, okay, we had so many good times, so many highs, that these lows probably don't have any value to them. And or I can change these little lows because there's been so many highs. So he was very calculated with that one.
Very, very calculated. And
Yeah.
it's scary that someone has that level of patience,
Yeah.
not be themselves for the sake of preventing someone else from becoming themselves.
Exactly.
So he out here whining and dining, ain't got no job,
Mhm.
but got money. Y'all ask
Yeah.
questions, please. Ask
Yes.
questions. And
Yes.
anytime you're afraid to ask someone a question, just don't even that
Right.
you don't need to be around them. No one that is meant for you, whether it be family, friend, or significant other, should you ever have a sense of being truly afraid to ask
Yeah.
a question.
And
Because
no one that cares about you is going to leave you in a state of confusion.
ever. And if you ask for clarity, they're going to give it to you without defense.
Yeah.
So he wine and dining you. He ain't got no job. He got a car.
Hmm.
how long does that go on before you start seeing any kind of sign of before you see your first flag
So the
that
first flag, I really didn't see the first flag until after a whole year. We're a year in. So mind you, so much has happened within, a lot can happen in a year. Oh,
especially if you spending a lot of time together.
yes. We were together, I want to say almost every day. We were together almost every day. And mind you, this whole year is all highs. So there has been no lows to really, feel like I got to keep my guard up after a year. So, I had a pregnancy scare, and I ended up um started having symptoms of pregnancy at the time. And I had texted him, and I remember I actually had to go to work that same night. And I texted him and I said, "Hey, I think I'm pregnant." And he said, I it was like 3 hours later. He texted me and said, "I got to tell you something." And I was like, "What?" And he said, I recently had sex with my ex." And I'm like, "Why would you tell me that now?" And like, why are you telling me this right now when I just told you I think I'm pregnant? And he had told me that he wanted to start over. He wanted to get that off his chest. He tried to build like credibility by saying, "I just want to be honest with you because I actually love you." And that was a strong love bombing moment for me, because not only do I think I'm pregnant in a whole other state, not with my mom, not with family, nobody. This man's trying his best to build credibility, quote unquote, by also taking advantage of the fact that he think that I'm pregnant. So that was really hard. But that was the first time I seen a red flag, and I had ghosted him actually for 3 days. During these 3 days, he had tried the hardest that he's ever tried to get back in contact with me. He did not like being discarded. And it was obvious. Like when I say he went back to the blueprint of what he knew that I liked, the flowers, the everything. Like he doubled it because he knew that that's what drew me back in. So over time, that mutual friend that I had discussed earlier had came and talked to me and was like, "Hey, like so and so's trying to give, yeah." And flying monkey. I don't know if you heard that phrase. That mutual friend is staying tight. It's a tight ship. But that person was like, "Hey, your ex is trying to get in touch with you. He's doing this. He's crying. He's all this other stuff. Like I feel bad for him. You should just try to talk it out. Give him another chance. Relationship goes through hard times." This is stuff that I'm being told, and I'm starting to feel bad. Like, okay, well, dang, maybe this is a hard time. Got to get past it.
Hold up, wait. I'm trying. Z, I'm
I know, I
trying.
know, I
I
know,
want
I
to fight the air right now.
know.
Okay. So if homeboy's advocate
Yeah,
did time in, do you think you would have opened the door back up? Or
no.
do you think you were standing 10 toes down?
I was really ready to stand 10 toes down, but I felt so convinced that I was being too harsh, and and mind you, that friend knew of the previous relationship I had been in. So they used that against me and saying, "Oh, because you've been through that relationship, you're automatically applying those guards to this one. So maybe
Y'all,
you should." Yeah.
okay. This Have you seen the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez where she's in the abusive relationship?
No.
So real quick, whoever has seen this movie, it's real old movie. The guy and his friend do this tag team wingman thing, right?
Hmm.
So one of them will approach a woman and they'll do it intentionally and be evil, ugly, mean, disrespectful to that person. Then the other person comes in and plays the Prince Charming. And so they go off and usually have like a short fling. But this particular time, he does that and he ends up marrying J-Lo. You're giving me this story, and this is all I see. I'm like, this dude is trash bag.
Yes.
And here
Yes.
you come stepping in
Yes.
like that's
And that was really, and mind you, like I genuinely trust the person. Like I trust this person that's telling me all this. So in my mind, they're older than me, they're wiser. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just young and dumb. Like I'm just thinking, too harsh. Let me just go back in and give him another chance. And I was working, I was doing good. I went back within those 3 days, I started trying to get my life back on track. I was ready to focus. And I had found out within those 3 days that I wasn't pregnant. I went to the doctor and everything. So I was
you were
okay.
out.
Yes, I was out. I was
You
out.
were out.
Yes, I was out. But then I felt so convinced and put down that I didn't try. Quote unquote, I didn't try.
let me tell y'all, and I keep saying that, let me tell y'all, but let me tell y'all, when I tell you guilt and regret and shame will have
Mm-hmm.
you doing all things wrong, it will have you doing all things wrong.
Yeah.
First of all, for someone else to interject themselves in your relationship with someone on your end of the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
like, no, you need to talk to your homeboy over here
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get him in line. He the one that did wrong. Don't
Yeah.
tell me I gotta like. But it
Yeah.
makes sense because that person introduced you.
Yeah.
But if you be mindful of your decisions
Yeah.
and this figure out if they're coming from a place of regret or insecurity or shame or guilt. Because I stayed in the relationship with homeboy way longer than I should have
Mm-hmm.
because of regrets and
Yeah.
because of me feeling like just what you just said. Well, maybe I need to try harder because I feel like I
Yeah.
try like I should have in the
Hard
first.
enough. Yeah.
Maybe I need to try harder. And it's like, no, you see the signs.
Yeah. And you know what? Before I decided to go ahead and unblock him and text him back, I feel like God, because I speak about God a lot, because he showed me a lot of signs. He tried so hard, God, he tried so hard to show me some
I
signs.
was
Like
like, I
that.
ain't saying that to you. I did not.
Yes, yes. And I had right before I had unblocked him, I had seen a Instagram. I was scrolling for a little bit, and I had seen an Instagram post, and I'll never forget that post because I feel like it came at a time where I needed to listen. And it said, "God will not allow there to be peace in a situation you are not meant to be in." And I,
Ah,
yeah, I remember that
where my
post.
tambourine at?
I
You talking.
I had saved it, and I still have it to this day. And right after I seen that post, I liked it, and he texted back. He texted me. So I just God kept showing me signs like over and over. But of course, there's me who's like, ignoring all the red flags look like six flags when you're having a good time. So I'm like,
Baby, say that one more time for the people in the back.
I said when you're enjoying yourself a little bit, red flags can look like six flags.
For those of you who don't know, Six Flags is a theme park. Just in case somebody didn't pick it up. No judgment. Ah, oh my gosh, that's good. Ooh, that's good. And both of them, red flags look like six flags, and God will not allow there to be peace in a situation that is not for you.
That's right.
I ain't trying to yell at nobody. Y'all got me raising my voice in here. I just need to make sure y'all are hearing what she's saying. Please.
So with that being said, yeah, he we ended up becoming cool again. And I
How long did
remember, huh?
you open the door, you see the
Yeah,
sign, 3 days later, he rolls again.
yeah, yeah,
3 days later, you open the door.
yeah.
How long did it take for you to let your guard back down?
It didn't take long. I'm gonna be honest. It didn't take long because when I opened that door back, it was right back to the love bombing. Like he started becoming the sweetest man. I genuinely felt like this man was sorry, like sorrier than ever. He's like, I want to be with you and only you. Like, give me a chance to prove it. I didn't know what I had till I lost it. Yeah, the whole nine. So I'm thinking, okay, this is gonna work. He's changed, And I'm being so, and as hard as it is for me to admit these things, I want to be honest because I know that there's other women who's been in that situation or people who it's like they regret falling for those lies, but they have. And so now how do I move on? So I want to be honest with that. And I fell for that. And I remember, and we were doing good for about, I want to say a year, another year and a half. We were doing okay.
Yo,
But I remember I being in Dollar Tree. I was in Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna get a little personal, but I was in Dollar Tree, and my phone's going off, and it's my doctor, and I'm like, "What's my doctor calling me for?" So I call them back, and she's like, "Are you in a place where it's quiet? Like, do I have permission to say this over the phone?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What is it?" And she was like, "Your test came back for it was a couple of STDs," and I'm like, "STD? Like, I never had an STD in my life, never. I never
right? I
experienced."
mean, you was 16 with the first dude, and now this
Yeah.
is your second relationship.
Yeah, so I'm like, what do I do with that information? Like, so I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to do now? She was like, well, one of them is curable. One of them, unfortunately, isn't. So I had to go in and we were able to take care of that situation. But one of them is still with me for the rest of my life, unfortunately. But I confronted him about it. And of course, he's like, I didn't even know I had. That was from when I cheated. Like, you can't hold that against me because, this is from we had already forgiven each other. I did not know I had it. And I'm like, what do I do with this? And I'm not gonna lie, that's when I started to get depressed. I started to get depressed, and he had recommended that I go on birth control to prevent pregnancies. So I did. I went on birth control, and I did that because I felt like that was probably in the best interest of both of us. Like, I don't want no kids. I don't need kids right now. We don't need this.
So before him, you hadn't even considered, like you weren't even considering birth control.
No, never
Wow.
got on birth control. Because I wanted a kid with the first relationship. I did want to have a baby, but never did.
Wow.
Never got pregnant. My light died. I never got pregnant, and we tried actually. Let me turn this way. The lights are.
God.
We actually tried, but I never got pregnant. So with this particular relationship, I'm like, okay, well, we already have one scare, and then we have this situation with the STDs. Let me just get on birth control. So I had got on Depo-Provera. It's the injection. During that time, I had gained 75 pounds. And it wasn't just because of being on birth control. I was eating to cope with the relationship of me having, the issues of second time. Like, I don't even know if this man's still cheating. I don't know what he's doing out there anymore. Now I'm questioning, like, what's he doing? Why do I have this situation I'm in now? So I'm eating to cope with it. And on top of that, I'm on birth control. So I start to get huge. I blow up. And that which is a decrease in my confidence. With that comes him claiming, "Oh, I still love you even when you're big." He's feeding me, constantly going out to eat. Like, he knew that I had weight loss goals. I'm trying to lose weight, but he kept trying to get in the way of that so that I didn't feel good about myself. And so, even when I tried to
Second,
feel,
slow down,
yeah,
slow
yeah,
down.
yeah,
Let's just go back. Let's just do a recap real quick, guys. Okay.
yeah,
So the very first year, all things well.
yeah,
A whole year. I hope y'all are listening to this. A whole year,
hmm
305 days, all things well. He ends up coming clean. Hey, which we don't know if that was the only time he slept with his ex,
yeah,
anyways, but
right,
they will admit, let me tell you something in my own experience, and then just based off this conversation, someone who is that devoted and loyal
hmm
to their ways of living, regardless of how negatively it impacts other people, they have everything mastered out.
hmm
It's all like they're not caught by surprise by anything, and they know how and when to pull certain triggers.
yeah,
And a lot of times they will admit the tip of the iceberg of something that's going on behind the scenes or something that has happened in the past that
hmm
can come back and bite them. They'll admit the tip to, like you just said, to gain your trust. It's like, okay, well, at least he's being honest, or she
yes, yes,
are being honest. They came through. I didn't even have to ask about it, but they're only be mindful that it could possibly only be a nugget of what's really
yes,
happening.
yes. That's very true.
I just needed to put that out there. So you a whole year, then you get your
Yeah,
nugget,
yeah,
3 days, and then it's another year and a half.
yeah.
Like the magnitude of patience right now with this
Yeah.
person.
So mind you, these are all high. This is the highs compared to the lows is what question makes you question whether or not this relationship is worth staying in, because at least in the first relationship, all of the lows was just back to back to back. So we never really had many highs. But in this relationship, the second one, I'm like, okay, well, we've had over a year, almost 2 years of highs. Like, this is my best friend at this point. I've shared my entire life with this person, and we only had two lows in my mind. Like, so it's like, okay, we can work through this. Every single time something would happen, it would be so far apart. I'm like, we can work through this. And so that's what kept me in this particular situation.
Whew.
Yeah,
Okay. So he's admitted that he had the that he cheated on you.
yeah,
Then he's now saying you can't, please don't blame me, because he's still being really considerate. He's being
yeah,
really considerate of your feelings, or so it's
hmm yeah,
because he doesn't seem like he's attacking you for what you're finding out and the information you're presenting, which is odd.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
glad we're having this conversation. Now he's saying, please don't hold this against me,
yeah.
even though the likelihood of him still been doing dirt was
It's
very
high. It was doing. He was doing it. Yeah, but it was
right.
high. Yeah,
Please don't hold this against me based off something that I told you about already. We
Yes,
can
yeah,
move forward.
yeah,
So y'all move forward, and
yeah,
you're two and some change in the
yeah,
books,
yeah,
and the highs are way higher than the lows.
yeah. Hmm.
Did you think that birth control would prevent any other STDs?
No, I didn't. I knew birth control wasn't going to be preventative for STDs. But I made irresponsible decisions and stopped using protection because in my mind, this is the person that I was going to end up marrying. I'm not going to lie. Like I really thought that this was the person that I'm meant to be with. Not only because of, this is who God brought into my life in my mind. Like I'm thinking God brought this person into my life, but I've invested so much of myself into this relationship more than I ever did. So this is it. This is it for me.
Really quick before we go on, because you just said something so important. And this
Yeah.
happens to young people, old people, men and women.
Yeah.
We find ourselves afraid, or we convince ourselves that because we've invested so much time in this moment with this one person, that why would we have to, we don't got to start over. You know what it
Right.
is. We can work through these things. Let me tell you, God willing, your life is far longer than the 5 years, 3 years, 6 years, 10 years that you're with someone. Everybody makes bad investments. Everybody makes bad investments in some area of your life, but we can't we can't continue to beat ourselves up while allowing someone else to beat us up or hold us down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't I don't want to say it like that. I understand that the investment that y'all have made
Hmm.
feels like a lot in this moment. If it's been a year,
Yeah.
if it's been 8 months, if it's been 3 months, it feels like a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of times we lose sight of the fact that there's so much more life to live. And like you said, this is my best
Hmm.
friend. I don't want to have
Yeah.
to do all this over again. Please, you're worth doing it over again and
Yeah.
over again and over again until you and the person you're meant to be here for come.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to give yourself a second chance. If we willing to give these busters a second chance,
Yeah.
you got to be willing to give yourself a second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth chance, because what we forget, the older that we get, we're still only doing this life. This is the first time we've only done this life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't care if you're 67. This is the first time in this life you've ever been 67. So
True.
we have to have grace, and we have to understand and accept that from birth until the last day, every day is new, every experience is new,
Yeah.
everything trial and error.
That's true. Yeah.
So love yourself enough to say, this ain't right. It was a bad, accept your bad investment and be like,
Yeah.
you know what, kick rocks. I gotta go
Yeah.
find somewhere else to invest this, because this ain't it.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
two some years in, you like, I done invested, this is the most I've invested of myself into any other person besides me, or even
Yeah.
more than myself.
Yeah.
I just can't walk away. God sent this man to me. I prayed, and boom, the next day he showed up. God, you work.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything just kind of felt like it was falling into place. Everything, the way that everything happened felt like it was meant to be, but I just got to work through it. And the thing about the things that he would do, his manipulation was extremely calculated based off of what he knew about me. Me, like I said, I'm an overthinker. So what he would do is when we would get into really bad fights, or I would say something that pushed him off or made him feel unappreciated, quote unquote. He would say things like, "Okay, well, fine, we don't got to talk. We're done then," and he'll ghost me for 2 or 3 days, and then that would leave a lot of room for me to think like, "Oh, did I just mess up this relationship? Is it my fault? Like, should have been more appreciative?" So he would just discard himself for 3 days, knowing that he had intentions of coming back, but he just gave me 3 days to literally break myself down, and then he popped right back up. So he would do that often, and then it just let it when he would come back in 3 days. Oh, I'm grateful he came back. So now we're back on a good track. So it was just consistent patience on his end on how he wanted to show himself out and show who he really was. And it took a lot of him learning and studying me for him to know how to do that.
Making you feel like
It was my fault.
he's doing you a favor too.
Yeah.
Like
Mm.
he's the best thing that's ever happened to you. You
Yeah.
don't want to miss out on this, baby. Y'all want
Yeah.
to, I trust me, y'all want to miss out on it, okay?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Take it from me and Z. Miss out on it. This the
Miss
one thing you
out.
want to
It's you
miss out.
not, man,
This
you have
thing.
no idea.
So y'all weren't living together.
At that time, no.
Okay. So how do things transition from these small moments of
Yeah.
lows to
Bigger
something
moments.
that escalates to bigger lows, deeper lows?
So it started when I got to a point to where I actually was ready to leave the state in general and go back home to my mom. Me and my mom had reconciled fully, and we became super close. And I'm like, Mom, I just want to come back home. Like I've had enough of this. I'm done with relationships. I'm ready to come back. And she's like, Are you sure? She's like, I will pay fully for your flight. I'll pay for you to ship all your stuff to here. You got to be sure. And I said, Yeah, I'm sure. So I called. To this day, I wish I hadn't made this phone call, but I called him and I said, "Hey, I just want to be able to say bye. Like I am leaving. I'm going back home." And another reason why I was leaving was finances. Like I had lost my job because of this relationship. I
Okay,
lost.
stop. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Give me 30. Give me 30
Yeah.
seconds. We can't skip over that.
Yeah.
I want to get there and we're going to get there, but we
Yeah.
can't skip over that
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
did say at the very beginning you had a community, a tribe, a
Yeah.
village, in a
Yeah.
place like you were blessed to be surrounded by people who welcomed you in and took
Yeah.
care of you when you're so far away from any living soul that you actually know.
Yeah.
How in the heck? Because you already said it ain't that many lows and
Yeah.
so few and far between. How is he influencing you to a point where you're no longer in the safe tribe and community and you lose your job?
Yeah, so I would, when we would get into like small little arguments and he would lead me on to think that, oh, the relationship was over and it was my fault, I got depressed about it. And when I would get depressed, the thing about me is when I get to a low point with myself, I start to neglect things around me. So I would go to work and I would do a terrible job. And I can admit I did a terrible job when I was at those low points. Because I would just cry all my shift and I'd be sad about it and overthink. And I would just go into I have anxiety. So I would just have anxiety attacks and my whole shift would not be completed. So my boss would try to be a caring person and tell me like, this man has you all over the place. Like you used to do so good at your job, you used to come to work happy. This man, you're not happy anymore. You don't even like you're just depressed all the time. And she would tell me like, you're a CNA, you need to get it together. These are people's parents you're taking care of. I need you to be your best self when you come to work, or else I'm going to have to find someone else. And so things would, and he knew that this was where we stood. So things would go on, and he would continue to cause little episodes of like arguments and disagreements up until it got really bad to the point where I would just stop showing up to work. I stopped showing up because I couldn't get out of bed. It was really bad. And then even when I got bigger, I was so I felt defeated. And so I got a text message from my manager one day saying, "We're going to let you go. We need to find someone else." And he would also do small things like cause conflict between me and my manager, and just tell me like that she's not a good, like just same thing as the other relationship. He would put stuff in my ear telling me that this is not what's best for you. You need to get a raise. You deserve to be paid more. Like I can help you find a better job. He didn't offer to pay my bills at this point,
Did he
but
have a job yet?
he did at this point. He did have a job. He had
Okay.
a Yeah. He ended up getting a good job, and actually, really as
That's
a unit.
check. Like you offering other people jobs out here with your job, sir.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he was doing good. He's making 40 some an hour, so he was doing really good. So he was like, just don't worry about it. When I lost the job, I told him, and he was like, at the time, he said, "Don't worry about it. I'll pay for everything you need up until you get another job." So that's when I had started to go downhill with my finances, and I'm like calling my mom, and we're talking, and she's like, "Go ahead and come back home." So that's when I called him, and I said, "Hey, like I'm going back home. I'm sorry. Like I just can't afford to do this anymore. Like this is a lot. Washington stays expensive. Rent was 1,700. Can't do it." So he's like, "Move in with me. Like I'll pay for everything until you get a new job." He's like, I'm not asking you to, be a stay-at-home girl for none of that. But if you want to move in with me until you can find a new job, then do that." And I'm like, I'm going back and forth in my head about it because I'm like, he never offered to move. He never once offered to me to move in with him. He's offering it just so I can get on my feet. I wanted to be independent. I didn't want to live with my mom anymore, but I did want to be on my own and have the finances to do it. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So that's when, and as the last time, that's when the flag started to come about. I ended up getting another job at an Italian restaurant. So I wasn't a stay-at-home girlfriend. I ended up getting a job. He ended up having a job. And he let me even go as far as decorating the whole place how I wanted it. He paid for everything. And he was happy that I made the house a home. And I'm working at the same time. And this was actually a really good paying job for me. So I was saving some money. And I felt like I was in a good place. Got my nail tech degree and everything. We're back to the highs. Like I'm feeling like this is actually gonna work out. So it got to a point to where he would do certain things, like I would come home from work and there'd be a woman in the living room, like, and she'll be doing his hair, like, but I'm like, who is this lady? Because the way that it was presented when I would walk in, it's like, you didn't tell me nothing about this. There's a lady just sitting in the living room, like, who is this? So it just looked inappropriate. And he would stage it to where it looked like he was whenever we would argue, like, okay, I'm gonna have somebody over tonight, and then just ghost me and not say nothing. Like, I'm like, okay, well, who is I'm thinking it's a homeboy or something, but it's a woman. So she would be there doing his hair, braiding his hair, and I'm thinking, okay, well, this is just his hairstylist. And, in retrospect, I can't even sit here and say that I found out different, but I'm pretty sure it was what I thought it was. I'm not stupid. Believe that now. And I would go through his phone, and that's when I started to go through phones. Never did, but I started to go through phones at this point, and I started to see we had a mirror in that apartment, and I would see pictures of women taking pictures, naked pictures in that mirror. And the dates on the text were dates that times where I'm at work. So he's doing certain things when I'm at work with other people in the house. And this woman was wearing one of my articles of clothing, like my clothes. And so I'm like, what I did was I screenshotted it, sent it to myself, and deleted it on his end so I can just have the evidence and proof. Because I'm like, at this point, I've been through this. I'm seeing the signs again. Now my guard's kind of going back up slowly but surely.
So at
Um,
this point, you are now 24, 22.
yeah, I want to say 20, 22,
Okay.
22. Yeah, or 22 or 23, around that age. But eventually I went up to him and talked to him about it. And I'm like, this is what I found in your phone. I can't do this anymore. Like I'm done. And crazy part is that I can say that I was ready to stand 10 toes on that. I had enough saved to get into an apartment. The friend, back to the friend that got us together, they came to me and was like, we have a vacancy at our apartment complex. I can get you in. So I'm like, okay, get me in. Like, get me in the apartment. I'm like, I want my own place. I'm ready to end this relationship. I'm done. So I call my mom and I tell her, like, this is it. Like, I'm standing 10 toes. I'm at this relationship. I did the application, got approved for the apartment, got my move-in date. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave this house and I'm going no contact. We're done. And I 100% can say that that was the truth. The day that I moved in, the day that I moved in, girl, two lines came back on that pregnancy test. Two lines came back. There was the day that cause I was throwing up that morning, and I'm packing up bags. I couldn't even pack like all my stuff up because I'm not feeling well. And I move everything into the apartment. I get my keys, and I'm just like, let me go buy a pregnancy test. So I go buy one. I'm pregnant.
I knew you was gonna, but you were doing the birth control still, right?
No, at that point I had got off it because I was on my weight loss journey. I was ready
And
to
it was
lose weight.
preventing you from.
And yeah, the doctor had told me, he was like, if you get off this birth control, I want you to remember you're going to be very fertile. And so he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. And it's crazy because during that time too, I was going to the gym consistently after work. I was working out and I had lost a little bit of weight, 15 pounds. But then I had noticed that the scale stopped moving. I wasn't gaining, but I wasn't losing either. And so I thought that maybe it was just I had hit a plateau or something, but it never, I was pregnant for 4 weeks and didn't even know. So that's when I took the test, is the day that I had moved in. And that whole day, like, changed the trajectory of how things went, because he knew that I was ready to go no contact. He knew that I was done. Like, and yeah, I ended up pregnant. So now the friend is my neighbor, and we have a toddler. She's 2 now. We have a toddler together, and things started to go from covert narcissism to malignant narcissism. We got into, I want to say, our first physical fight in the hospital. Um, after I, yeah, in the hospital. I had started to do a lot of reactive abuse. And I want to say that the reactive abuse actually started because I was, mind you, I just had a baby. Like, I'm already all over the place. And we were stuck in the hospital room together for 7 days straight. We were stuck in because she
COVID.
had, yeah,
No,
she
it's
had,
not COVID.
no, jaundice. She had jaundice.
Oh, bless her heart.
Yeah. So we were stuck because she had to be under this light. So we were stuck in the hospital for 7 days together. And he didn't want to leave. He's an actor. He wanted to be an active dad. Like, he was there for everything. But it's when he was there, there was always chaos. It was never peace.
Before you go any further,
Yeah.
because I just learned about this
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, and I want you to break it down for people.
Hmm.
You said reactive abuse.
Yes.
Explain to people what that is, because I it happened to me too, and I was like,
Yeah.
God dang.
Yeah.
Explain to people what reactive abuse is.
So reactive abuse can be a survivor's worst enemy, but it's something that happens when you are pushed to a limit. When you are pushed to your limit, and everyone has one, you're going to start to react to that. That the level of abuse that you're going through. So an abuser will literally push you, push you, push you, and try to get a reaction out of you purposely until you react, whether that's physical or verbally. And then when you do react, they play victim and try to make you feel like, okay, now you're the abuser. And not only do abusers do that, courts will do that too because they do count in reactive abuse. When you react to situations, whether you react physically or emotionally, they will count that in because abuse is abuse, whether you reacted or not. And that's why reactive abuse is something that isn't talked about enough because that's something that gets a lot of victims in trouble because of the fact that they reacted to abuse that they've been facing for so long. And when they finally react, now the a narcissist can be like, okay, well, I didn't put my hands on her this time, so how does she? What can she say about that? But whole time it was them just reacting to the amount of pain that they've had to deal with and the amount of narcissism that they've had to deal with. So that reactive abuse is usually what's weaponized against them in so many situations in courts and the narcissist, they'll record their reactive abuse so it looks like it was straight abuse from their end and not the narcissist end. And reactive abuse is most common with covert narcissists because covert narcissists aren't malignant. They don't put their hands on you typically. So when you react, if you are someone who has a hard time not putting your hands on someone when you want to react or when you're emotional, then that's going to be definitely held against you.
I don't even want to talk about the course right now because it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
reactive abuse is so real.
Yeah.
Pressure burst pipes.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
only so much. And they know this.
They know.
If
Yeah.
you've never been in an abusive relationship, you don't even know this about yourself because you don't really know what your limit is. And you don't know
Exactly.
how it's going to take you to get there.
Yeah.
But they'll just tiptoe tap dance on that ice until it thins out. And
Yes.
you say, like you said, you don't even have to put your hands on anybody. But you say something or you explode. I did. I
Mhm.
exploded the last day. I just started yelling. I was just like, I
Yeah.
don't care who hears me.
Yeah.
Just going
Yeah.
off. And then they want to turn around and be like, play the victim.
Yeah, like, why are
Like,
you yelling? Or I didn't even say nothing to you. Oh, see, I can't even have a they'll say things like, I can't even have a conversation with you because you can't even control your emotions. And it's like the things that you're telling me or saying to me right now is meant to push my buttons. It's meant to get a reaction out of me. So now that you got it, oh, now you're a victim. Now you're the victim.
and
So,
let's be real clear, in that moment, they may only have to do or say two or three things
mm-hmm,
because there's been so much buildup of pressure that you've been trying to subdue and you've been trying to actually exercise self-control for whatever reason. Like in
mm-hmm.
a lot of cases, you want to exercise self-control because you know that once you react, it's going to be worse for you.
That's
Like
right.
do stuff and they know it's going to be worse for you. And sometimes they'll flat out say, if you do, you already know who's going to get the worst of it. They'll say stuff like that too.
Yeah,
But in that moment, I want people who aren't familiar with reactive abuse, but may have experienced it
yeah,
to understand that it's not you. It's the buildup of what you've endured for however many days, weeks, months, or years
yeah.
that you just cannot take it anymore.
A person can only take so much. Everybody has a limit. And that limit, a narcissist will do whatever it takes to push you to that limit. So just understand that it's not your fault. You're
And
human.
so y'all in the hospital,
Yeah.
which is supposed to be a really, really okay. Well, before we get to the hospital, you move out,
Mm-hmm.
your place, you move into your own place, you
Yeah.
find out that day that you're pregnant. For the 9 months, did you go full term?
Yeah. Well,
So for the
actually, my due date was October 24th of 2022, and I ended up my water broke on October 1st.
okay, so 8 months.
Yeah.
We'll go 8 months. So 8 months between you moving out and
Yeah.
before Sweet Child is born. How is the relationship during those months?
It went completely downhill. And my pregnancy is literally the reason why my is how I knew that this was not the moment I this is not my husband. This is not the person I'm supposed to be with. Like, God, what did I do? Like, I ask myself that every single day. Because when I got pregnant, he stopped showing up in the ways that he was. He was not present. He would only show up when it was convenient for him. There'd be days where I wouldn't hear from him at all. Like, I felt like a single mother at that moment. Like, finding out that I'm pregnant, I knew I was gonna be a single mother and or end up one if I wasn't one from the start. And then that's my pregnancy is was very traumatizing for me. And I think that that's what caused the most damage in the relationship. And it was beyond no repair because a woman's never going to forget how they were treated during their pregnancy. And I feel like the most women will not forgive for how they were treated during their pregnancy because it's the most vulnerable time of our life. So that's when my pregnancy started to I started to realize like this person is not good for me. What did I do? I messed things up so bad. I was crying every single day. At the time I had no furniture. So I'm sleeping on the floor and he's sleeping on the bed. And it's like, how can you allow that? And like I get it. Like, he would say things like, "Oh, you're accountable. You're the one who has you wanted to move out. You had a place to stay." And it's like that's not the point. I wanted my own place, but I'm pregnant. It took two to tango. So it was just things like that, those little comments, like, no accountability whatsoever. So it got to a point to where he would show up and he'd try to be there. But I think I don't want to say this because I feel like this is justifying his behavior. Back to the friend was telling me like he never been a dad before, so you got to give him grace because he's never been a dad. You guys are first time parents. He doesn't know and realize that he has to adjust his life to this. So just wait till the baby gets here. He'll change.
Pause, pause, pause. Y'all, that's a lie. Okay.
Yeah.
I need whoever is out there watching this episode. I don't know if you're pregnant. I don't know if you're about to be pregnant. I don't know if you already had the baby. But you know if the other person has shown up for you and that child or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't take someone experiencing being a father to actually show up and be present and try to figure out ways to help. It
Yeah.
doesn't you don't have to that excuse of, well, he's never been a dad before. I ain't never
Yeah.
been a mama before.
Right.
I've never
Right.
been pregnant before, but I don't get the luxury of not like showing up pregnant. Oh, I ain't gonna be pregnant for the next 5 hours. We don't get that luxury.
Man.
It's about whether or not they're putting forth healthy effort,
Mm-hmm.
effort, and they're trying to do something for you and y'all's child. There
And you
is
know what?
for people to not show up.
Right.
That's
There's no excuse. There's no excuse. There's people out there that will try their hardest, and when someone's trying. But you know what? I feel like this is very important to say because I've been being around it for the whole interview. But I want to say, and I'm not going to directly say it out of respect, but I do want to say this. The friend, I want you guys to think about who is possibly worse than the narcissist themselves. That's the friend that I'm referring to. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But think about who can possibly be worse than the narcissist. So, the person that was around them their entire life or the entirety of their life.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That
But I will say, like, during the duration of the pregnancy, that friend was happy to be happy. The friend was happy that I was pregnant, because now they're in direct related to the baby. So that's another hint. But now they're directly related to the baby. And that friend knew that I was going to be around for a long time. And that's good for everybody because I'm a good person. And they all knew that. So now I'm in the situation where I am part of a family by default that I don't think that I was meant to be part of. And that alone itself is very tough to deal with. So, yeah.
hey friends out there, just mind your business.
Yeah.
I ain't
Yeah.
here to offer helpful guidance or and sometimes don't even just try to offer helpful guidance because we don't know everything. We don't know what we think we know. Just stay in your lane.
Yeah. Because honestly, even if God's going to bring them to you, your partner, your person,
Yeah,
then They don't need no friend to bring y'all together. You're gonna
No,
meet them. You're gonna bring them together.
dang. Like I think I don't want to say the most disappointing part, but a very disappointing part of this conversation is the fact that there were times when you were gone.
Yeah,
You didn't even have to be here, but because someone you trusted as wise counsel was like, "Hey,
yeah,
aren't, relationships aren't easy. You just got to work things through." Like you know what was going on.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
felt like you needed to come to me when I stopped communicating with somebody, you know what's going on with the other person.
yeah.
You have
Hmm.
a strong idea if you don't flat out know. And the fact that you,
And mind you,
I don't
that friend's loyalty at the end of the day is not going to be towards me.
want to
That
be told.
friend's loyalty is towards them. So they're playing both sides and they're trying to be the middleman. And you're trying to follow your gut, but neither of them like that. So that can be really hard to deal with, especially if you're trying to find somebody to trust or if you trust this person.
Friend, you raggedy. I just want
Yeah.
to say it one more time. So y'all are in the hospital. The pregnancy didn't go well.
Hmm.
The relationship was going downhill. Y'all are in the
Yeah.
hospital for 7 days straight. So he's there all 7 days,
All 7 days.
doesn't leave,
Doesn't leave. We are in
despite his
this
job.
room. Despite his job, yeah, he took we both were granted leave. We just had to take it early. Our bosses were actually pretty lenient with us considering the circumstances, so we lucked up about that. Um, when my water broke, I immediately told my boss, "Hey, like I'm about to go to the hospital." And even during my pregnancy, I want to add in like there were so many things that he had done that I should was just it put me into a more depressive state. Like I was catching the bus when I was pregnant, and he had a car. And he would always find an excuse to either not take me to my appointments or he would call. Mind you, this is a point where he has money now and I don't. And first we were either even or vice versa, but he would call me broke because I couldn't afford to get a car when I was pregnant, and he would just hang up in my face, things like that, or call me, slang terms, brokey, and things like that. And it would just put me down to a very bad point. Like I have no money, like, or I don't have enough money to take care of a child. Diapers are $30 a pack. Like I can't even afford to do this or get a car. So even when there was room for him to be helpful, and he knew that, he still chose not to. And that's what I want to point out to people is that even if you are a first time dad or first time mom, there's no excuse. If there's room for someone to be helpful to you or your partner to be helpful and they make the active decision to not do it, they don't care.
About nobody but themselves.
Yes, they don't care. He would drive right past me when I'm at the bus stop, like, or he would drop me off at the bus stop instead of taking me to work while I'm pregnant. When he could have took me to work, he just didn't want to go out his way. So, yeah, choices like that, like I say, choices like that are just unforgivable.
One thing's for certain, and two is for sure. Someone who has an abusive nature, abusive character traits, whatever abuse it is, they don't like to be inconvenienced. I don't
Yeah,
care if you do have their child. I don't care if you are taking care of children that you didn't birth. I don't care what sacrifices you have made for the sake of their quote unquote satisfaction.
yeah,
They do not like to be inconvenienced. And most of the time, they will not inconvenience themselves for you.
yeah,
They just
yeah.
won't.
They
or,
won't. They
or
really won't.
even their kids.
Yeah, yeah,
They don't want to be inconvenienced, but they expect you to inconvenience yourself all the time.
man. Oh my gosh. You ain't, yeah, you're not lying. That's the truth. That is the truth.
So y'all in the hospital, sweet girl is born.
Yeah.
Did they know immediately that she has jaundice?
Yeah, she came out yellow.
Okay.
So they were like, okay, well, she's gonna have to stay. No, initially I was able to be, what's the word when you're able to go home?
Discharge.
Yeah, I was able to be discharged within 3 days, but they was like, if we discharge you, you're gonna have to leave, and she stays. But if we just keep you admitted, then you both are patients, and you can stay with her. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll stay with her, obviously. And so he made the decision, like, okay, well, I'm gonna stay with you guys, and I'm like, okay, well, great. Like, at least you're doing something, you know. But the thing about him is that he always wanted. It's like he always wanted applause for a bare minimum. He always wanted he always wanted me to applaud a fish for swimming. And I'm like, I'm not applauding you for I'm not applauding a fish for swimming. Thank you. Your child is
Oh my
here.
gosh.
And so, whenever so he would always try to turn it around saying, "Oh, you're being unappreciative." Like for every little thing, even if it's something that he should have been doing in the first place. I had to be appreciative of everything, even if there was moments where he wasn't appreciative. So he would always say, "I'm a man. I need to feel appreciated," and things like that. So when I asked him, so I didn't even ask him to stay actually, because I knew 7 days was probably going to be tough to be in this hospital room with this food. And I'm like, "All right, you can go. I'm not tripping about it. Just pick us up when I call you." But he chose to stay. I didn't ask him or nothing. So he ended up staying, and we things got heated around day 5. That's when it started to feel like, okay, like the tension's rising, and he started to keep making comments like, "This feels like I'm back in jail and everything." I'm like, well, if you feel like you're in jail, then go home. Like, I was just, there were so many things that he could have did differently than what he chose to do. And it's like, why aren't you want there to be a problem? I feel like because we haven't had chaos in a few days because we had our daughter, now you got to find a way to create it. So, um, yeah, we had gotten to a physical altercation to the point to where I had to call security. And this day made me so mad because that was the day I realized it kind of hit me that there's going to be probably a lot more of these situations in the duration of us having a kid. The cops that came, or security guards that came up to the room, were very invalidating to what I was feeling because I was emotional or I just had a baby. So it was three men. And I feel like that's important to say because I feel like that's a very important factor in this. He had walked out of the room when I called security, and he was about to go to the elevator and leave. And the 3 security guards followed him to make sure that he had went the right direction and didn't cause any more drama. The security guards came back up to my room, and he came back up as well, the father. And he sat down and he just put his earphones in and laid down. And so the cop looked at me and he said to my face, he said, "You should be very grateful that he showed up. Not a lot of dads do." And even the nurse did a double take because why would you tell her that? Why would you tell me that? You don't even know the background of anything going on. And so he looked at me with a straight face and said that you should be very grateful he's here because not a lot of dads stay. Yeah, and then he said he's a good man. Like, I'm like, how do you know? And so that it stuck with me because that day made me so entirely angry. And even the nurses came back in and apologized to me and said that that was really out of line for him to say. And they had my back through the entire of my rest of my visit. Anything I needed, they was right there because they seen how much I was going through. So that was a tough situation, but that kind of, and then on top of that, the nurses made a mistake, and something my mom had told me that I was actually going to do. My mom would say, "Do not put his name on the birth certificate. Do not put his name." She kept repeating it to me, and my mom, she was always trying to be on my side, always. But I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do it. I wasn't gonna do it. But the nurse that I told her, I was like, hey, because he went to go downstairs to get food. And I was like, hey, when you bring the birth certificate in, can you just mail it to me? Like, do not bring it in here because he's going to want to sign it and he's going to fight for it. And I don't want to deal with that. So she was like, okay, I got you. She had ended up getting off work and switching shifts. She didn't tell the next nurse what I had requested. So she ended up bringing in the birth certificate in the room, pen and paper, like, hey, here's the birth certificate. And I'm like, he's right there. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do now? So I'm like, okay, well, like, what do I do? Like, there's nothing I can do, and I don't want drama. My daughter's right here. Like, I just wanted to keep the peace. So I let him sign it. And I've obviously to this day, I deeply regret it. But I'm like, okay, well, he's on the birth certificate, which took away a lot of my power. And it's not about a power trip. I want people to understand that it's about safety. Like, my abilities to keep my daughter safe has been limited because his name was on that birth certificate. So that was a mess up on their end. So that was something that I had to deal with as well. But that's when the malignant narcissism actually started. Yeah.
Y'all, let me tell y'all something. The only way I can preface this. So many people advocate for fathers being in their kids' lives. And I'm not going to lie, this used to be me. Like wanting every dad to show up and be in their child's life. Like you're the father, show up and be in the child's life. But unless you've been in a situation where the father of those children is abusive on any level,
Hmm.
physical or not, I don't think it might be fully hard to comprehend that perhaps being an absent father is in what the best interest of the child.
Yeah.
Because when you bring in someone who is abusive in whatever area to the mother of the child, that's abusing the child because you are now teaching that child what a relationship looks like or is supposed to be. Not only that, but you're ignoring the fact that if he can do this to the person that he laid down with,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a far cry that he would
Mm-hmm.
do it even though it's his own blood. They don't want to be inconvenienced.
That's right.
And having a child with someone and y'all aren't on good terms, that's an inconvenience for them.
Yeah.
Having a child in a lot of cases is an inconvenience for them. And so when
Yeah.
that child is nagging and annoying, because babies are annoying, despite how cute they are, they're exhausted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That person is either going to neglect what that child needs for extended periods of time, or
Mm-hmm.
they're going to punish that child for being a child in ways that that child should never be punished.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that a lot of people might not agree with my stance on this or my current belief, and it could change, but I wholeheartedly in this day and time believe that every father is not fit to be present and active in their
Mm-hmm.
child's life, because a lot of times they are using the child as another tool of manipulation,
Mm-hmm.
control.
Yeah. That's right.
And people think it's the women, and let's be real, it's a lot of women out there who get pregnant on purpose and they come out here and they trying to get money and stuff.
Yeah.
This ain't those women. This ain't those situations.
Yeah.
This here is when someone is being abused and they're in an abusive relationship and they happen to have a child with the person who's abusing them or having to take care of that person's child. They're using the kid as another form of manipulation and control. Even if
Yeah.
it's like you getting awarded 50% visitation in custody, now you got to go through them deciding if they want to show up even though they said they were going to be there, or them deciding that they're going to do right for the weekends. Like, it's just a lot of manipulation,
Yeah.
control, and every father, this is just my belief, doesn't deserve to be in their child's life because they're going to cause, like, that child would be better off without
Yeah.
that particular parent. I
That's right.
said what I said. Come at me if you want to, but don't send for me because I ain't,
That's the truth. That's the
you
truth.
know, I just needed to say that. Okay, so how, and the audacity of security. Come on, Craig,
Yeah.
top flight, coming up in here voicing your opinions about something we don't know nothing.
Man, but you know what? I learned abusers will always side with abusers. Yeah.
Said, she said what she said.
Yeah.
So take that to the bank, cash it, deposit it, secure it, wherever you want to put it. She said what she said.
Yeah.
And
You
that's
look.
facts on facts on facts. Made backs on backs on backs on backs. Okay, I'm sorry. Hold it in.
You have to get it out there.
Try to hold it in. It was like, nope, let it out now. Okay. Oh my gosh. So bump homeboy security. Dang,
Yeah.
the audacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happened in the hospital room? Like, what was the physical altercation that happened? And was your angel in there at the time, or was she out with the nurses doing the nurse stuff?
So I was pretty out of it. The nurse was out of the room at the time of the altercation, and I was pretty out of it because one of the drugs that they gave me to relieve some of the pain that I was going through earlier was fentanyl, medical fentanyl. So I was dozing off, like in and out of sleep, and my daughter was actually crying. Like when I say crying, she was wailing, but I couldn't hear because I was so sleepy, and I was exhausted. And he ended up getting so angry and just impatient that I wasn't being a mother. I wasn't doing my job. And so he would say certain comments like, "Oh, you like I should never had a kid with you." Like it's just right off the bat. And I'm like, I'm out of it. Can you just help out? And so he would get frustrated with me about things like that. So one thing, and because you're gonna hear me talk about this later, because I did it twice. I don't like to fist fight. So sometimes like I'll just do certain things that I know will get up under as reactive, get up under their skin, under his skin. So I had a cup of water next to me and he had his earphones in and I was trying to talk to him like, "Hey, instead of putting your earphones in when she's crying or when I'm speaking, can you just listen to me? Like, please." Like, and he was kept shutting me out and I was getting so impatient. I was getting so mad. I'm trying to keep it together. I'm already sad. I'm already ready to go to this hospital. And it was hard. So I reacted, and after trying so many times to get him to listen to me and hear me, I just grabbed a cup of water and threw it at him. And I'm being real about that. I snapped. And so both of his AirPods, which are very expensive apparently, had ended up stopped working. And when he seen that they stopped working, he went livid. So he got up and he's just first he started off as saying things that he knew would hurt my feelings. Like, oh, you just had a baby, you look like this, started picking at my weight, started picking at how I look, and I'm trying my best to keep it together. You know how in cartoons when they get mad, you can see the steam like rise above
Oh
their
yeah,
face?
yeah,
And I always compare it to that moment because that's how I felt. You could see the steam like going
yeah.
into my head, and I just eventually I snapped. We just started fist fighting, like started getting into it, and eventually
Did
it
he
was
put
really
his hands on you
quick.
first?
I
Like,
put my
cause you're
hands
in
on
the
him.
hospital bed, right?
Yeah, I get up and I put my hands on him first. I'm not gonna lie
So
about that.
you get out of the bed
Yeah,
and you just go ham sandwich on his face. You just ball up and swing.
yeah. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that he did it first because I truly reacted out of my emotions. I was so fed up and I was so upset. Like I was done. And it started off with the water, and then it started off with him saying the things that he was saying, and then as he wouldn't stop, even when I would say stop, like please stop, it just kept going and going. So I ended up reacting, and I did fight first. And then it were just going at it for a few seconds, and a nurse came in, and she was like, "I'm going to get security." She was like, she was trying her best to be a mediator, saying, "I know tensions are high, you're hormonal right now, just lay down." And I'm like, I felt good then, like I'm fine, like I'm ready to get up out of here, like
Wait, now I'm woke.
yeah. And so she was like, I'm gonna get security. So that's when everything security came in and that happened. And we ended up getting released the next day. So when we got home, I want to say that's when for about a week or so, week or two, things were calm and collected. He was when I will be honest and say that when my daughter got sent when we got sent home, he was very present. He was taking care of her. He was up like every time she'd flinch, he'd move, and he stayed over for like a couple weeks to make sure that we were okay. So that's what I do give him credit for was those first couple weeks. After a while, everything just started slowly but surely becoming all on me. Like it would always turn to you're the mom. You're the mom. You're gonna have to deal with it. Like you're a mom now. And mind you, he was partly raised by a single mother. You know what? I'll say this. He was raised by a mother in a relationship that was single. That because the dad was physically there, but I
They,
don't
oh
know.
my girl, I can't make this up. Like you reading all of my thoughts that I haven't even let out, like
Yeah.
to the atmosphere yet before, and you just keep saying stuff because I told myself I was like, man, I would rather be a single mother than be
Hmm.
a single wife.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly, yeah. Hmm. So he
Taking
grew
care of
up.
the child and
Yeah.
then still having to do wifely duties. Like
Yeah.
y'all don't understand.
And mind you, he grew up watching that. That's what his mom tolerated. He grew up seeing that his mom do everything. She worked two or three jobs to keep ends meeting. She ended up, and mind you, dad was present, but not maybe physically, but not always emotionally. And so, and yeah, so but because of that, and because of what he's seeing growing up, he had this expectation that the woman that he had a kid with had to do the same thing and meet those standards. Okay, well, you're a mom now, so here's what you're expected to do because my mom did it. If my mom can do it, you can do it. So I'm like, okay. Like, and I kept thinking, I'm a first time mom, like maybe he's right. I need to just get a grip, be a mom, like just get over it. Cause I'm also sacrificing a lot too. Maybe I'm not understanding what it takes to be a mother. So all these things are going through my mind, mind you. And I'm just putting in all the work. And while he's really just kind of there, you know? And after a while, I just want to say in between that point, 2 weeks, and up until January 12th of 2024, he was in and out doing things on his time. Everything was always on his time. And of course, the narcissism was still present. The malignant and covert narcissism was still present. It was just little incidents in between where we fight physically or emotionally or scream or we'll just reckless driving, things like that in between. And I'm just forgiving for the sake of trying to keep my family together. And we'll go into that,
Hold
how
on.
big that is.
Hold on. Talk about the reckless driving.
Yeah, the reckless driving. Whenever he would get mad, or we would go out on a date night, quote unquote, because it wasn't a date; it was like crazy. But whenever he would get upset, he'd recklessly drive, intentionally to scare me, or I'd be screaming for him to stop the car, let me out, and he just go faster, or he just like speed up, or he'll stop abruptly and project me into the windshield, or just if he knew I wasn't wearing a seatbelt, he just do certain things to just, try to kill me from what I genuinely believe. So the reckless driving was another thing that I feel like people need to pay attention to, because that happens a lot with men. He was driving so fast that he ran into a trash can on the side of the street and tore off his side mirror, ripped off his side mirror. So whenever I would see that side mirror, it was just a reminder, like, this is why the side mirror is off, is because of the reckless driving. And he would stop abruptly, and then I hit my head on the windshield. Not hard enough for me to go through it, but hard enough for me to be like, what, what the f, you know? So
I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad
yes,
you said that because all
yeah,
the conversations that I've had up until this point. Last week, someone had mentioned it wasn't the same though. It wasn't
yeah,
necessarily hers was different. That was a DUI situation, but
yeah,
the I've been there.
yeah,
I've been there, and I think that so many things in relationships like these, because there's always so much
yeah,
things like the reckless driving gets like it gets skimmed over
yeah,
because one, there was no accident, nobody went to the hospital, you're technically
yeah,
still safe. That stuff gets skimmed over, but is you we can't skim over that.
yeah. It puts you in a position to where you feel unsafe, and that is not, that's domestic violence. If you feel unsafe
Mm-hmm.
physically, like you possibly could die from a result of this, that is unsafe, and they do not love you. They don't love you.
Regardless of what they say, regardless of how many times they apologize, and regardless of how many times they say they do love you or stay with me, I'm getting better, all the stuff that they say,
Yeah,
everything you there. Like Z said, if you're in a situation where you feel unsafe, because somebody out there is going to come across this episode and they're going to nut, there's been no physical abuse. They're
hmm,
not sure about the manipulation or the control. They kind of see things are going. But the one thing they know for sure is that they've been in a vehicle, seatbelt or not, they've been in a vehicle where their life was not in their control. And it was during a situation where the homeboy or the homegirl who was driving took advantage of that to be in control of how they felt,
yeah,
incite fear,
yeah,
and all the things that come along with it. So I had to pause because I've been there, and out of all these conversations and all of the times that I thought about all of the things that I've been through, I've been there. But
yeah,
because it's been so much, I've completely skimmed over it and let that one, like, I ain't let it slide, but I hadn't really thought about it. And they
yeah,
do, y'all, anything that they can get a leg up on and control, they use it.
yeah, yeah,
And you have to be on the lookout for any situation where you feel unsafe, even if it's just intimidation. That's abuse,
yeah.
domestic violence.
That is
You
true.
should not be stuck in a room and be afraid to try to get out of a room.
Exactly. And especially by someone that you are claiming as your partner or your significant other, there should be no space to feel unsafe with them at all. And even if it's reckless driving, like she said, you make people feel indifferent about it because it's, you made it alive, or you're not hurt, but it's still putting you in a position to where this man may kill me. Like, he's putting me in a position to get killed.
Because they don't know. I mean, you can think that somebody's in control and they're doing stuff intentionally, but it only takes one rock, one nail in the tire, one anything, and that's that moment of control. Intentional reckless driving under control goes out of control.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people, like you said, oh, well, you're still alive, like nothing really happened, you're safe now.
Yeah.
But that could have went left real quick
Yeah. Because at the
because they're
speed,
intentionally doing something foolish.
exactly. At the speed they're going, sometimes they could pass up a stop sign easily, and then there goes both of you guys' lives, or even yours. If and then they're living. It's a bad position to be in.
It's bad. So I had to take that moment, Z, because I just had to. I just had to because I know somebody out there hasn't experienced anything else but that.
Yeah,
They needed to know that that's not right. It's
that's
not safe.
domestic violence.
Get up. You gotta let that go.
Yeah,
You got to get your way out of that.
because you got to think also, if they're willing to do that and put you in a position to get killed, you got to imagine what else they're willing to do. It may seem small to you, it may feel small, but you got to think about the implications of those actions and what they're willing to do to put you in that position. They'll do anything else. If that would have killed you, they'll do anything else that potentially could have killed you too.
Yep.
So I think I'm glad we covered that.
Ugh,
It's hard. I know. It's a memory.
I declare. So y'all are out of the hospital. He's there and not there. Y'all go unquote. Like, are y'all trying to get back to the good days?
So we have the friend in our ear at this point consistently now, both of our ears, trying to tell us how important it is to maintain family.
Baby,
Um,
I gotta stop you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Because that's what we are conditioned to believe.
yeah,
We don't have these conversations.
that's
Nobody's
right.
open and honest from our parents' generation and their parents' generation. And people stuck around and stayed because people holding the Bible over people's head what the Lord has put together. And that no man, baby, the Lord ain't put all these marriages together. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's true.
He ain't
Yeah,
put all this together.
that's true.
So don't be throwing that Bible verse in my face.
Man, don't.
And I know this ain't of God. You hear me? But they stuck around, marriages till you said your vows until I ain't even have vows on this. We ain't gonna go there. This your story. But you say your vows, you do all of these things, right? And you're in relationships, and now it's you have a child, and people put so much pressure, whether you're married or not, you have this kid, y'all both need to work it out for the kid. Some things can't be worked out because both people aren't willing to do the work.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's only doing more damage to the child,
yeah,
which is then repeating the cycle for their generation and for them to spew their trauma on someone else to make it their burden. And they didn't even want that. Like that's not what they deserve or wanted.
amen.
So whoever is out there, whether it's the homeboy or the homegirl, your family, their family, you got to come to a true space within yourself and think, okay, if I was this kid, would I want to grow up in this?
Yeah,
Does my child deserve to grow up in this? And work things out however you can. It's hard when it's an abusive relationship. Work things out however you can, but understand that you're putting pressure on that baby. In all honesty,
yeah,
the baby that didn't ask to be here, you're saying because you're here, I'm going to try to stick in this unhealthy situation, and now you're going to end up growing up in it.
yeah.
So all y'all
That's
out
not
there
fair.
who ain't there, who ain't in the situation, who want to get your 2 cents about you need to stay there for the kid, be quiet. Go.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
And
what
you'll hear a lot
proper.
of old school traditional people talk about that more.
Meanwhile, they got they with somebody who got babies at their house on the street. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want listen, we don't want your problems.
That's right.
We
That's
don't
right.
want them. We don't want your problems. And just because you decided to stick around and stay and then hide all these conversations, like that's what blows my mind when
Yeah.
we get older and we're able to really see what happened in generations past in our family.
Mm-hmm. You
We
realize how
really just
toxic it really was.
this
Yeah.
and making it okay. And then
Yeah.
not even teaching it. It's one thing for you to sit through it, but for you not to teach and have this conversation because of your
Yeah.
own embarrassment and shame and guilt to help your children avoid it. That's why I'm here. I'm like, yo, it's too many of us going through this and it could have been avoided. And I don't want my daughters, our daughters, the world's daughters to make decisions like I made. And I don't want the world's sons to repeat the decisions that their fathers are making.
Yeah.
It's time out for that. And this generation, our generation, can be the generation to have these open conversations to make it better for the next. That's the purpose of us continuing to live on through people. We got to teach
That's it.
them
Yeah. You
and
got
stop
it.
hiding everything. That's why people be getting in caught up in stuff because everybody want to hide stuff.
If you
Look,
don't learn the history, then it's destined to repeat itself.
baby.
That's
Okay,
right.
sorry.
You're good. No, you spoke facts.
I had to get it don't make no sense. It just don't. Okay, so the family friend person, I ain't we
Hmm.
can't call it the family homeboy, homegirl, the family home body
Yeah.
is all up in both of y'all ear talking about y'all gotta make this work
Hmm.
for Angel Face.
Yeah.
So now against y'all's real desires, y'all trying to make this work?
So I think both of us are at this point. We're both coming to an acceptance that we may not. We both know we're not going to be long-term partners, but we both know that we have a child together, and we have to try to figure this out somehow. We can't bicker every day, so we're trying to put in an active effort to at least be good co-parents. I'll say that because we knew we didn't want a relationship with each other. So I thank God for that acceptance at that point. But now that a child's involved, it's like, how do I do this? Like, how do I heal from someone while also parenting with them? And that's so hard to do. Like trying to co-parent with somebody you have to actively heal from and still try to heal from every day while being a parent, that's really hard to do. So we got to a point to where we was just at the time in the beginning of her being born, he had his own place still, and I had my place. I was paying rent. I was on maternity leave. I had unemployment, so I was doing good financially. Like I was okay. Um, After a while, I decided to go back to work, and I had to put my child in daycare. We daycare is 2,000 a month at this point. So, yeah, we're trying to
What?
yeah, $2,000 a month.
For
So we're
one baby?
one baby, and that's daycare is 2,000 a month now. It was 2,500 when she was a baby because she's younger. So if the younger they are, the younger they are, the more they charge.
Are they learning foreign languages and foreign trading? Like
You would think so.
2,500?
And for that price, they're really lucky I didn't make them co-parent with me instead. Because
Wow, listen, let me put your name on this birth certificate and we just gonna have to figure this out together. Let me
yes,
amend this ASAP.
yeah.
That's bananas.
So we were trying to pay for that. Thankfully, he was helping with that particular bill because he knew if he didn't, then she wasn't. He was going to be a stay-at-home dad. So that was a preventative. Make sure he paid financially, and he was doing okay. He was doing construction, so he was okay. And I am hopping in between jobs because I'm the one, every time she gets sick, making the sacrifices. I'm the one who has to call out of work during my 90-day probational periods. I'm losing my jobs because he's not sacrificing as much as I am. But let the friend tell it and let him tell it. The mother is the one who should be the forefront of making the sacrifices. So in my mind, okay, this is just what comes with being a mom. Like, this is it. I'm like, whatever. So
Hold
a
on.
point,
How is your relationship with your mom at that point? So you
oh,
just had a baby. Your mom's
yeah,
in a totally different state.
yeah. It was tight. My mom, she's never been on an airplane before and she's terrified to get on one. And she never will, more than likely. She never will do it. And I accepted that. So she wasn't there during the birth, but she was on FaceTime. She's been present as much as she could be. And I want to give her credit for that. She's been present as much as she's able to be. So we have a tight relationship and she's still trying to tell me like, you need to find a way to get out this situation. It's not good for you. And I'm like, I know. I can say right now that I know you're right, but I don't know how. I just didn't know how because I can't just leave state without going to court with her. I have to fight it. And fighting it just seems more exhausting than staying in the situation.
And I swear they know that.
Yeah.
I swear they know like I can get away with stuff because she don't want to do this. She don't
Yeah.
stamina I got to be to I got bananas in my brains and I can go
Yeah.
all day, you know? And they're
Yeah.
like, I know she don't want to go all day.
Yeah.
Because I
And
don't.
on top of that, they make it very expensive to even start the process. It's to even start it would have costed me 500, and that's 500 I could be using towards making sure she got what she needs. Like now, not a court situation. So they make it so expensive to even start the process and getting the help that you need. And I don't know why they do that. Like it was tough to get financial help for that situation, which is another reason why I particularly didn't start the process because the 500 it took to start, I needed it for either wipes, diapers, or Similac, or just stuff that she needed, and I'd rather just use it for that and deal with what I'm going through as long as and what I thought this is what I thought then, but as long as she's not being affected. So when in reality she was.
Do was there ever a time that you did some research and was looking for any kind of shelters or things that could assist you financially, even though you had your own place to live? Somebody that you could reach out to who specialized in helping women and children who have been through abusive relationships.
So I did find one source. And the thing about it is that in order for me to be eligible to get full financial assistance for the help to get paid, I had to have not only a domestic violence background, but an active police report that I did say something and that I did tell that, this is an active police report under investigation. The thing is that I qualify for one of those things. I never called the police yet because it became so much more harder to do as we got closer. How can I just call the police on this person after everything we've been through? Like after everything, I don't want to see him in jail again. And he already has a felon background. This is the father of my child. Like if I call the police on him now, I'm going to be a single mother for sure. So why would I put myself in that situation? So that those are the things that's crossing my mind. So I did not have an active police report, which means I didn't qualify for the help.
These are real conversations, y'all.
Yeah.
These are real conversations that go on in the heads of anyone who is in this situation. And it's, you think it's crazy because you're putting the needs or your concern for someone else's life direction, like you're
Hmm.
putting that burden on yourself and over your own safety and healthy, anything that could be healthy at this point. I feel you 1000%.
Yeah.
I don't want to send homeboy back to jail.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't want to be the person that did it. I don't, regardless of the fact that your decisions are the reason why you going back.
Yeah. And the thing is that I knew in my mind, I'm like, if I start this process, I know for the things that he's done, he's gonna go to jail. My daughter will not have a father. So, and then how do I explain that to her when the time comes? Like, there's just so many things crossing my mind. Like, if he's in jail for the rest of her life, for the first 20 years of her life, I got to be the one to say, I called the police on your dad, which leads to a lot of feelings that she may not get over until she's way older. Time has gone by and she didn't understand till she's now 30. Now I've missed 30 years because you rejected me for trying to protect you.
Baby, when I tell y'all, people in this situation be done wrote out a whole trilogy
Yeah.
of what could have happened if I do this one thing.
Yeah.
And we completely bypass the present moment. We honestly don't know if our children will be resentful for us for calling the police on their father. We
Yeah.
honestly don't know if that person is going to have a hard time doing anything if he or she gets out of jail again. That ain't our, that's not your problem.
Yeah.
Somebody who you are, that's not your problem. Your
Yeah.
problem is the present moment and continuing to subject yourself to unhealthy situations and indirectly or directly your children to these unhealthy situations. And I'm not saying this like it's easy because it's not. I didn't call the police. I
Yeah.
never did because I had these exact same conversations in my head. And I didn't want to be the reason that so and so didn't see his kids that I didn't have, his kids that I did have, like all of this
Yeah.
stuff. I don't want,
Yeah.
then, you know, some of the kids are old enough to understand what's happening. I'm concerned about their thoughts. My babies aren't old enough, but at some point they will be. How do I have, like, all
Yeah.
this? We having all of these
Yeah.
future conversations
Yeah.
and still continuing to stay put in a situation that we know is unhealthy.
Exactly. And it's
Ain't
because
no good for nobody.
yeah. And in my mind as a mom, it's like, okay, I can handle it as long as I make sure she's straight and put a smile on my face when she's around. I'll be good. Like things will be okay. But they cross that bridge after a while. So
Y'all take just hear us, please,
yeah,
and take it to heart. We know it's not easy to do it because we didn't do it. I didn't do it. You know, I know it's not easy to do it, but at the end of the day, you're worth it.
and if you are in a situation where you are co-parenting in an abusive relationship, nobody's winning.
Nobody.
Nobody.
I had to stop there. I had to get that one out because it's just too many times. Like people want to know why folks don't call the police. This is one of
Yeah,
the reasons. It's a lot of
yeah,
reasons why people don't do it. And
yeah,
when you're not in it, you're like, you think you would. I used to
yeah,
think I would,
yeah.
I'll never be in an abusive relationship. I'm calling you, put your hand on me one time. I'm calling.
Man, you're right. You're right.
You think you, I'm not saying you don't know, but we know
There's
now
so many factors that go into
so
that.
many
So
facts.
many factors.
And when you're mentally in a state where you're not confident in yourself and who you are and what you can do without
Yeah,
that person, you just can't see yourself, like you've taken away all your power.
yeah,
It's not always that they take away your power, but you've taken away the rest of your power by giving in to concerning yourself with what the problems that they gonna have. Them
yeah,
ain't got doggone problems. And staying only begets more problems for everyone, like Z said, who's involved. So
yeah.
carry on. We couldn't let that one ride.
Oh no, you're good. I'm glad. But you know what? I had got to a point, see, where was I at? I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just totally cut you off.
Oh no, you're good.
Y'all were not really getting back together, but you were working on co-parenting and
Oh yeah,
healing
yeah. Yeah.
and
So
trying to navigate that and not
um
call the police, like not having
oh
two
yeah,
factors
not
to
being qualified for the domestic violence source. So I ended up just not filing altogether. I'm like, you know what? Let's stick it out. Can't do it, can't afford it. I got better things to pay for than sending him to jail because it's just too many things that can go left if I do. So let's just pay for the Similac and get over with. So that's where I got was mentally with that. Um, it started to get to a point also to where he would do things passive aggressively, like verbally. Like he'll say things to her, even though she's a kid. You know, people would always be like, "She don't understand it. She'll be fine." Like, but in my mind, it's like, why are you genuinely doing that? So he'll say things like, "Oh, mommy didn't do this for you, huh?" Or "Mommy doesn't love you," or she's just saying things that can get stuck in her head as she gets older. And even if she may not understand it now, if you have a habit of doing this to my face in front of me, I can only imagine what you're going to tell her behind my back. So that passive aggressiveness was something that he would start to do. And then we can go up to the day that I finally did call the police. I had enough. She's now 2 years old. January 12th of this year, uh, we ended up living together. He ended up moving into my place.
This
And
is because he didn't have a he still had a job, but he didn't have his own place. What happened?
he ended up financially falling behind with his responsibilities. And, he wasn't, I don't know where his money was going. It wasn't going
That's
to
what I'm
me.
saying. You ain't taking care of nobody.
I don't know where, and I wouldn't put it past if the money was going to other women. I wouldn't put it past him, but I will say I don't know where the money went. And he had a good job, but he texted me one day and was like, "Hey, like I lost my apartment. I need a place to stay." I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Here
Like,
you go.
yeah, like here you go. What am I supposed to do? So I'm like, okay, so this is what we're gonna do. You can move in with me, but we're gonna get notarized and signed a contract, at least that you are only able to stay here for 1 year. That's it. And I'm like, I'm trying to be smart about this the best that I can. So I'm like, okay, you get 1 year to get your stuff together, and then you got to go. That's enough time. Otherwise, you're just BSing around. I know, and I'll be able to pick up on that. So I'm trying to move as smart as I can. This whole situation. He moves in immediately. I'm starting to, and one thing about me, I should say, I'm very neat. I like to keep things in my home a certain way, like because it's just how I am. It's my house. I'm paying my rent here. This is how I want my house to be. He knows how I am. So he starts to go against every little thing, like leaving cups of water next to electronics and things like that, just small stuff that he know would send me spiraling. So um over time he just stopped doing washing his own dishes, stopped cleaning up after himself. Like, men use the bathroom, they miss the whole toilet seat, like just things like that. So narcissists are very what I've also learned, narcissists are very messy people. His house was always in shambles. The place that their environment's always going to be in
Are they
shambles.
now?
Yeah, they're very messy. They do not like to clean up after
Huh.
themselves. And that's a universal thing. I thought it was just his trait. Narcissists are generally very messy people.
When I tell y'all, I ain't said it once this episode, but I got to say it now because she been reading my whole book. When I tell you these jokers are the same person,
Yeah,
it's just a different scene, it's just
literally.
a different situation, different character. It's the same goddamn person. But
Yes.
then,
Yeah.
but then expect you, like if y'all are living together, expect you to be the one to keep the house to the
Yep.
pristine. I thought
Yep.
so. I thought so.
Because you're the woman, or you're the neat one, so you got it. Like they get comfortable. And
You are
there's
the
two
wrong
traits.
person.
There's true traits about a narcissist that they always have similar. They're lazy and they're messy. And those are true traits, believe it or not, of narcissism that isn't talked about enough. Because if you do not like clean up after yourself, that's a problem in itself. But then to have narcissism backed up with it, that's another thing. So keep that in mind. So with that being said, he would always just leave a mess everywhere. Like I would always have to go behind him, and I felt like I became a mother to him. I became like his mom. So I felt I was always the one who had to hold him accountable for things, clean up after him. Eventually, I was the one who was cooking. Like I would cook for my daughter, so naturally, because I was cooking for her, I cook for him too. Like I'm not gonna let you starve. Whatever, I'll make you something to eat. But then he would stop contributing. I sound congested. I'm sorry. He would stop contributing to certain funds in the house, like food. I would start to come out of pocket for slowly but surely. We had a lease, but because I'm the one who made this lease, there were so many loopholes in it that I didn't think about, and I didn't really think that it would actually matter. But of course, the narcissist is going to actually find a loophole to go around and make it sure that it doesn't hold out in court or anything like that.
Like
So,
what? Give us an example.
he started paying. He paid rent for the first couple months. He moved in September 2024. Over time, he would stop paying for certain things, utilities, and other bills that were necessary around the house because I didn't apply them to the lease. So anything like, for example, my couch, like I am renting to own my couch. So he would sleep on the couch. And I'm like, okay, well, can you pay for the couch? Because you're making it messy. It's not gonna last long. You're reckless, you spill stuff on it. It's like, no, it wasn't in my lease. So now I'm paying out of pocket for everything, and then eventually he stops paying rent. So because the lease didn't specify certain aspects or certain things, which I forgot about it, I had to speak to the lawyer about it, but um he was able to pay not pay rent, but still couldn't get evicted because there wasn't solidifications in the lease. So it means I couldn't. He still had rights to be here because he had paid already. So just certain things like that. And so he just stopped paying altogether. I was the one paying for everything. I had my money up, I was doing good, and he just became my second child, like literally. And I want to say it went on for up until January. Up until January rolled around, and things just started to get lazy. I went out of town on vacation. I went to Vegas to go see my mom. Took my daughter with me, so we were gone. I had security cameras in my house, and he didn't know about a couple of them. He knew about some of them, which were the visible ones, but I had access to my cameras at all times. So I noticed when I went into my phone one day to go look at the camera to see what he was doing, two of my cameras were offline. That means that I wasn't able to see the bedroom, of course, and I wasn't able to see the living room. So I was able to see other angles of the house. So I'm like, okay, I called him like, did you turn my camera off? Yes or no? Because I'm like, I know he did. And I can able to see the footage of when him approaching the camera. So he ultimately unplugged my cameras and put them away so that I couldn't see what was going on. I come back home and my house is in, when I say it looked like a tornado it looked like, I can't even describe the words of how my house looked. I could have thrown up. It was just so bad. It smelled bad. It was messy. Like there was food everywhere, plates of food everywhere. I didn't
How,
even want to, huh?
how long were you gone?
A week. I didn't even want to be in the house. I literally just wanted to turn back around and get back on the plane. Like that's how bad it was. And so I tried to hold him accountable for it. And he was just starting to complain, like, oh, you were gone. I was on, like, when you were on vacation, I was on vacation too. Just trying to find some way to make justify the behavior. I wasn't having it. At this point, I'm like, we're almost 6 years in. I'm not falling for none of this no more. So we're just bickering because I'm starting to see for who he is. That's why things started to turn way more malignant towards the end of the the end of this whole thing. Um, so January 12th rolls around. I just got back from vacation. It's the day that everything starts to transpire. It's a Sunday. And I remember that because I woke up, and one thing about me is I don't call off work unless I'm dying. Like I got to be physically bleeding out or dying for me to call off work. I'll go to work. So something when I woke up, the first thing that came to my mind, call off work. I don't know what it was. I was perfectly fine to go to work, but something said just call off work. And my gut was telling me just to do it. So I did it. I texted my boss and said, hey, I gotta call off. He asked no questions because he knows that I wouldn't call off unless I need to. So I'm like, I'm home with my daughter all day. She's out of daycare, no school on Sundays, and he's home all day too. Mind, that's very important. He's home all day and in the bedroom, just watching music videos, not doing anything, not helping at all around the house. Not, I'm guessing he's in a bad mood. So I'm like, whatever, just stay out my face. Cool. So my daughter, 7 o'clock p.m. rolls around, and by this point, I'm exhausted. I'm like mentally drained because my daughter is in in my ear all day. I'm like, I'm ready to just need a break.
She's two, right? She's two at this
These
time.
two, yeah.
Baby, them things can talk
Oh
about
my
nothing.
god. I'm like, I need a break. I'm tired of being touched. I'm tired of being, mommy, I'm tired. I need a break. So I'm like, okay. Hey, I asked him. I said, hey, can you please? And another thing I should point out is that I had to always ask him if I could do things like shower because that implies I need you to watch your child. So I had to make sure I let him know, like, hey, I'm going to get in the shower. I need you to make sure you have eyes on our daughter. Otherwise, he wouldn't. He just assumed that I could watch her from the shower. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to get in the shower. I need you to watch her for 10 to 15 minutes while I take a quick shower, okay? He's like, okay. They go into the living room watching the TV, they're both in the living room watching TV. I'm in the shower. When I come out the shower, I hear him say, mommy didn't give you a shower, but she gave herself one though, huh? So I think that maybe this was just a day that I just felt big and bad because I wasn't having it no more. I snapped. It took a very little just for him to say that for me to make the active decision to stand up for myself. I go in the living room and I'm like, hey, do you mind giving her a shower today? Like I've been at it all morning. You haven't done anything, like nothing at all. So he's like, no, you can do it tomorrow. And I'm like, Okay, so I grabbed the remote control and I turned the TV off. I'm like, you're not watching my TV no more then. If you can't help out and help around here, I'm done. You're not gonna sleeping on the floor. You're not watching my TV. I've had enough. So when he stood up and I feel like people think I'm crazy when I say this. His eyes just went dark. Like
You're not crazy.
it's like I felt like I wasn't even looking at the person that I had known my whole life. Like not honestly my whole life, but 6 years. Like it's just his eyes just complete. The best way to describe it, I was staring face to face at that point with the devil. That's what it felt like. So immediately I run to the room and I put clothes on because I just had a feeling tonight was about to get bad. And as I'm running to the room, in my mind, I'm gonna have to kill my best friend today. Like that's what's going through my mind. Like that because that's how bad it looked. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to prepare that something bad's either gonna happen. Either I'm gonna lose my life or he could potentially lose his because I'm
Did
not
he
going down.
say to you when
He didn't
you
say anything. He just stood up and and then the look he gave me was it. That's all I needed was a look. And I run into the bedroom. I'm putting clothes on and I didn't hear him walk. So I'm like, okay, maybe he sat back down. But when I turned around, he was right there. He lifted me up off the floor and just threw me like, and I was light as a feather to him. I never in my life. I was almost 300 pounds. I'm like, how are you lifting me up like that? So he just picked me up and just threw me on the bed at a time. I hit my head on the wall, and I'm fighting back. Like I'm literally my hands are bleeding because I had nails on, acrylic nails. So they're being ripped off and everything with how hard I was hitting. And we're just going at it in the room. And my daughter, who's very sensitive to commotion, she runs into the room with and I'm trying to keep her out the room like as best as I can. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm saying to him, stop, like, stop, just stop, like, because I'm ready, I'm done. Like, we don't need to keep doing this. She's right there. Our daughter's right there. But it's like I wasn't even talking to him. He wasn't there. It's like he wasn't there. So I don't know who I'm talking to. He would not stop. He was just going at it, wailing on me. And I'm just like, you have to calm down. So I'm screaming. I grab my phone and I call his mother. And his mother and father, thankfully, was on the way from dinner. So they were 5 minutes away from the house. So I dropped my phone trying to fight back, and she can hear everything that's going on. And I'm like yelling, like, hey, can you help me? Like, come get your son. Like, come, please come over. So I hear her yelling, hey, stop. Like, what are you doing? Stop. Like, I hear her trying to stop him too. And she's just on the line. We're sitting there fighting. My daughter is against the wall screaming, and she's panicking. So, he's not calming down. It's like there was no, so of course you can think of all the things running through my mind at the time. So eventually I grab my phone back off the floor. I grab my daughter and I run into the living room and he's still in the bedroom. And there was a little period where um no, actually rewind that. We were still in the room and I see him stop for a second. I had enough time to grab my phone because he put his shoes on. I'm thinking, okay, he put his shoes on because he's about to leave. He kicked me full force into a glass mirror. I had a glass mirror in my bedroom. Unfortunately, my daughter was behind me. Um, like she was the first to be in the trail of the mirror. So when I got kicked into the mirror, she got kicked into the mirror. So she's losing her mind. Thankfully, no one got cut or was hurt. But still, it's the fact that you did that, you know. And by the time I grabbed my phone and ran into the living room, his mom bust through the door. So she stopped things right in time. And the crazy thing is that when she walked through the door, his face just turned. That was the person that I had known. Like everything just his color changed, everything just changed. It's like I was literally fighting a demon. That's what it felt like in that moment. And so I told him, I said, get out. I looked at him and said, get out. I don't care what you got in this house. Get out. I'll throw it outside. You got to go. He's like, I'm not leaving. So thankfully, his mother was able to convince him to leave the house at the time. And I took that opportunity immediately to pack everything up, everything that he had in his house. He had no reason to come back in here. I packed everything up and I called the police. And I'm like, I'm in a domestic violence situation. I need someone to come down here. And they sent two cops. At this point, he had already left. He had already drove away. They was like, is he gonna come back? I said, I don't know. And so they I don't know if they kept a watch out or whatever, but he didn't come back the rest of the night. So I'm assuming with that being said, they had took him away. But his truck was gone. So I don't know what all happened or what transpired. I just knew that I had two things that I wanted to do, and that was to stay in the house safely and get my daughter out the house with a friend, just in case he did come back. I didn't want CPS to be involved. I didn't want her to be present, just in case anything had to happen. So I slept with the knife that night because he had a key with him. He had my house key, so he could easily come back and finish what he started if he wanted to. Because I didn't know what he had happened to him. I slept with one eye open, barely slept at all, actually. I was up for like 8 hours straight until Home Depot opened. The second Home Depot opened, I went straight to get new locks for my door. I got three locks for my door and I got new security cameras. So I was able to get my locks changed that same morning, like as early as possible. Got them changed, switched out. He no longer had an active key. And it just put a lot into perspective because one of the things that was going on with our situ dynamic was that I had to give his mother a key. And that was because she was my childcare. She was one of my forms of childcare on days that I had to work, which means that if she has a key, he knows that she has a key. And that puts me in a bad position, you know? So that's something that we also had to work out. But that was really hard to deal with. And it was hard to do because now I had to make a decision in a split second to take away the father of my child, like, and knowing that he had the history that he did. So that was tough, but ever since then, I definitely can say that my daughter's attitude has significantly changed. Her mental health is so much better. Like the way that she acts, how playful she is now. We no longer feel like we're walking on eggshells. And the small things that everything I can do. So 3 days after that, the whole situation, I was having a hard time. I was withdrawing. I'm like, I want my friend back. I want him to come back. Like, I don't know what it was about me that just saying that, because it's like you would think I hate this man, huh? But I didn't. I wanted the best for him. It's just that everything on my end was genuine. Everything on him wasn't. So that's why I feel bad. So I go on TikTok. I had a TikTok at the time. I had a personal page, but I'm like, I don't want my friends and family to know that I was in this situation because all they're gonna do is say, "I told you so," or "We told you about this man. You should have listened to us. You're gonna be re-victimized," and all this other stuff. So I'm like, I'm gonna make a whole new page, fresh page, zero followers, no new email, and I'm just gonna vent. I don't care how I look. I don't care if I look crazy. I'm about to make a video just venting because I can't be the only one in the situation. So I just make a video, whatever. I'm thinking nobody gonna watch this. I'm like, whatever. So I click out, go to bed. Girl, I woke up and that video went viral. It went so viral. And I was like, why my phone is lighting up? It wouldn't stop lighting up. So I look at it, and when I tell you, it was thousands and almost 30,000 views. And I'm sure almost 100,000 today, but it went so viral. So many women in the comments was like just telling me, do not go back. I've been in a situation 30 years, 40 years. So many people telling their stories in the comments. I got so many messages. And I'm like, what do I do with this? Like, I have this platform now of almost at the time 4,000 people. And today it's at 10.3 thousand people. And I'm like, I want this page to be for domestic violence awareness. This is what I want to do. And I'm like, this is what my niche is. I always wanted to do content creation. I just never knew a niche. And now that I finally got this off my chest and I don't have to hide this anymore, this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this page specifically about bringing awareness to something that not many people can even talk about. Because I'm not silenced by the court. I don't have to be quiet. I just chose to. So there's people out there who have to be quiet because they're in a court case or their lawyers telling them you got to keep your mouth shut. You can't talk about this, or they're scared to talk about it because of post separation abuse. I don't have to go through none of that, which I went through post separation, but that's another story. But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make this page. I'm gonna just keep names out of it so he can't sue me. And I'm gonna make sure that every woman and every person out there who's going through domestic violence or narcissism abuse understands that domestic violence is not just physical. It starts here. This is my story. This is what I went through. And it's just gone from there.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Child,
Mm. Yeah.
baby, them black eyes are something serious.
Oh my gosh. That's
You're
probably the
not
scariest. Yeah.
you're not crazy. And whoever's listening, you're not crazy. I
Yeah.
say it every episode. You are not crazy. It happens. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that the person is not there. And
Yeah.
that's just bananas. It's almost like they're literally being possessed in that moment.
Possessed. Yes.
Real quick before we go. So he comes out, his mom's there. Before you tell him anything, he comes out, his face is back to the person
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Is there any conversation with him and you or him and his mom before he walks out the door?
No, she just pointed out the door and said, "Get out." And he just walked right out. He walked right out. And it's like all it took was for her to say it. And that's why I'm like, it's crazy to me how nonchalant that whole thing happened because it's like, we're just not going to bypass the fact that this man attacked me. Like, but she told me, she was like, pack up everything. Like, if you are done, be done. And she told me, if you're done, you need to be done because you keep going. She's like, I feel like I was being blamed, but at the same time, I also felt like, okay, it's my opportunity. If I'm going to be done, then be done, Zwayeerah. So I packed everything up and I threw everything outside. And then it's such a scary feeling, like, as I'm packing everything up, she had already left at this point. So I'm still packing things up because he had all his stuff here. And it was so crazy because I remember bringing out the last couple of bags. And there was a little gap where I took a shower and I calmed down and I had brought out the last two bags. And when I opened that door, everything was gone. And I'm like, it's just, it gave me chills. Like you were right there. And it was a crazy feeling.
It's
But
real. I understand. I completely understand. It's because you don't know.
yeah,
It's really this cloud hovering over you.
yeah,
So, homeboy's mom, other than if you're gonna be done, be done. She ain't say, "Are you okay? Is the baby okay?" Like she ain't asking questions.
she did. She checked on the baby first. She asked me if I'm okay, but she was like just telling me, just trying to talk, give me a pep talk about how relationships don't always work out because she knew that I wanted it to work. She knew how bad I wanted it to work. And I think that she also knew that this is the point that I'm finally calling it quits because she's seen me go back and forth a lot with this. So she was more sad because she was trying to tell me like I didn't raise him like this, and I'm just like, okay.
Came from somewhere, some
Yeah.
kind of way.
Okay.
I
Listen,
ain't
man.
gonna point fingers at you, but you know,
Girl, I'm not gonna hold it against you, but I will say what you tolerate is what he learned.
mm, child. Well, y'all all right over there?
You know what? I will say this. Things have been, when I say after I left this relationship, every door has opened up for me in a matter of 60 days. I have been on, this is the third podcast I've been on now. And I have now been on these three podcasts. I just yesterday monetized my TikTok. So I am now, it's helping me with my daughter as a single mom now. I just got a job 2 days ago back in a career field that I lost because of him, um, as a financial wellness consultant. So every door has been open, and I am so grateful. It's really crazy because I think about how much has happened since I left and how much could have happened had I stayed left the first time. Like how many blessings I blocked, how far I could be. But hey, it's like I don't want to do the whole coulda, woulda, shoulda because I don't want that to hinder me. So I'm like, just move forward now and be done.
God don't play about his. Set it
That's
up,
right.
God.
That's right.
Woo, set it up. He don't play about his. Y'all, I hope y'all okay. I hope y'all had your seatbelts on. I ain't even giving a warning. Keep your arms, legs, and head inside the vehicle at all times. Don't be above it right. I ain't getting no warning today. Girl, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Z, for just sharing, for sharing
Yeah,
your for having the courage, for understanding that knowing it's not just you, but your story now that you're on the other side can help so many other people.
yeah.
And just being here and giving us this opportunity to share this space with you, this energy with you, we truly, truly appreciate you, sis. We
Thank
truly.
you. I appreciate you for having me. I'm happy to be able to tell my story honestly now and not feel like I gotta be quiet about it. And now knowing that telling my story is helping and motivating so many other people. Like I always say this on my TikTok. I say one life at a time. And it's because if I can help one life with this one video, then I'm doing what God called me to do.
Amen. Amen. Y'all, thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for showing up.
No
And we
problem.
are here to encourage and to support you. If you are currently suffering in silence, you are not alone. You are not crazy.
Hmm.
Abuse is not normal, and your feelings are valid because we know from experience that when you're in that situation,
Yeah.
you just you really truly begin to question your sanity, and you
Yeah.
really begin to question if you are clearly understanding what's really happening.
Yeah.
So much doubt and disbelief, but we survived. You can too, and I assure you, it may not feel like it at this moment, but it is way better on the other side.
Yeah.
The freedom to be who God created you to be, to do the things that God created you to do, is that's your birthright. That's what you're here for. And we just encourage you to do what you need to do, take the necessary steps, go to Z's page. download that exit plan and get to work. There's somebody in your life that you can share that with.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. There's somebody in your life and you're thinking of them right now. Just go ahead and do it.
Love cannot reside where abuse resides. And please remember, you are worthy of all of the things that that narcissist made you feel like you're unworthy of. You can have the peace, you can have the happiness, and just don't let it change your perspective of love. Because imagine the love you gave in this relationship and what it can turn into if it's put in the right hands. Do not change the way that you love, just change who you do it for.
Talk that talk. Thank you guys for showing up. Keep showing up. Keep
Yes.
sharing love. Keep shining your light. This has been another amazing episode of the Confidence Way podcast. Y'all know we rising above these insecurities, releasing the burdens of shame and guilt, and reviving our God-given power, purpose, and passion. The Confidence Way. And as I always say, we gon' pew, 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 pew.
Thank you.